And a key lately, anyhow, for Shippensburg is definitely Jamie Ware, who's had 29 catches for 456 yards and 4 touchdowns, kind of living up to that preseason All-PSAC honors that he's earned, and also All-American they're starting to even hint around a little bit if he continues to do what he's doing. But basically, as we said again, Shippensburg's coming off of a road trip, Jay, where they won only 1 out of the 3 games. They lost a heartbreaker to Kutztown, 28-24. Then in Westchester, things fell apart a little bit. Westchester just seemed to be more hungry for that particular game, and Westchester beat us. Now we got Edinburgh last week that we beat towards the end of the game in the closing seconds of the game, and that was at Edinburgh's homecoming, I believe. So that kind of gives a way to build up, as these next few weeks here are going to be very big. Consider next week we go to Clarion to play Clarion away, which is always a tough game, Jay.
Very good point, Ryan. Not to mention, as you see on the screen now, the Red Raiders just came onto the field. They look very excited, very pumped up to be here today. So, but like you were mentioned before about, All-American status and stuff like that, there are definitely key players in this team, as we saw last week, in the last few weeks. The one thing that we didn't mention is how ship goes between the 2 quarterbacks, too. They have the diversity of Keith Coleman and Chris Gicking, both of which are averaging about 50% of their passes completions, and they're also, total for about 557 yards apiece, each of them. So that's a very key part. One quarterback gets shut down, you can bring another win, and that also adds to the diversity that we got on this team.
One good thing, Jay, about it being a new campus media, pretty much, we're starting to get a lot of stats, so we're having fun. So if you hear us read a lot of stats today, well, because we want you to be informed, because we're finally getting informed, so we're a little excited.
Yeah, we're finally getting informed. I'm half asleep, so just bear with me.
But again, like we said, it is homecoming, so it's going to be a little crazy today, but things ought to go well as we got the final whistle blow coming off here, and the teams are taking the field here, the special teams. Going to start things off. Mike Erlinson will go back to return the kick, as it seems like East Stroudsburg will be kicking off to us. So it's going to be curious here to see how Shippensburg comes out in this game, knowing the fact that East Stroudsburg's defense is not that strong. And I'm wondering, I talked to Coach Iruli, and Coach Iruli, even before the game, discussed the fact that, they're going to try to attack the East Stroudsburg secondary, knowing that they're weak. But the thing is that East Stroudsburg cannot touch the run. As we said, they've given up over 300 yards of rushing per game. And so in this respect, with the wing T offense, look to see us run the ball a lot today.
Looks like we're about to get started here, Ryan, with the kickoff. If you couldn't hear it, they just signaled the kickoff over there. I think it shocked a few people in the crowd from that one.
We got a flag on the play as the ball went out of bounds, so they may enforce a 5 or 10 yard penalty to let East Stroudsburg. They'll have to kick it probably from their own 30, kick it all over again.
Just a little piece of information from my infinite wisdom and knowledge about the military. That's a 105 Pack Howitzer, I believe is the name of it. It looks like it's being provided by a Army unit, maybe possibly reserve or an active unit. I can't really tell from here. I didn't see their insignias early, but that was that loud bang that you heard. So hopefully they'll be doing that during touchdown, stuff like that, and give us a little excitement here today.
As long as they don't shoot anybody, I think we'll be in good shape.
No, they're using blanks. What is it? It's just powder, gunpowder. It's kegged in, it explodes, burns out the barrel, shoots a big ball of smoke out, and that's the end of it.
So if you have any other further questions on Army barrack war gear, Jason Kaler will take care of your questions. Call SUTV at 532-1888.
I'm up on the Army, but if you have anything about the Marine Corps, just let me know.
Okay, as we prepare here, as number 4, J.D. Stern kicks it off for East Stroudsburg.
Ready, camera 1, take 1.
Looks like number 30, Tim Jones, I believe it was, picked up the ball for Shippensburg on that one.
Yeah, Dave Brown took it up to around the 34-yard line. That's to bring up first down as the Shippensburg offense looks to come on. If we get the Shippensburg starting lineup coming in on offense, as it looks like Chris Gicking will be leading the show today.
Was that number 20 that picked that up, or 30?
That was Dave Brown.
Like I said, it was a very long night last night.
Once we get a chance, like we said, we'll get the starting lineup for you as Keith Coleman takes the troops up with a strong side right. Coleman drops back, passes it to number 10, Melvin Scott, and Scott gets down inside the 40-yard line of East Stroudsburg, bringing up a first down.
Number
Actually, it was 10, Jamie Ware. You know, you see both.
Sure you didn't have a long night last
I don't know. The pep rally did it to me.
Yeah, I did lose my voice a little bit, the pep rally. I had fun at that last night.
But it's a good time by all. You know, when you have homecoming every year, you get to see a bunch of the alumni come back, watch, you know, the Red Raiders, see how the football team is compared to when they were in school. So it's a lot of good time as Coleman brings the team up into the huddle. Strong side left. Jeremy Brubaker runs up. He'll get about a gain of 2 on the play. Bring up second down and 8.
You know, like we said earlier, once again, we'd like to give our compliments to the SU homecoming committee this year for putting on an excellent week of activities that the students and the townspeople can come in and enjoy and know. Today they're putting on the football game, and at halftime we'll have the announcement of the homecoming queen, which is always a wonderful event.
And this year seems to be more exciting considering our own SUTV's Garnett Dallas will be in the running. As there's another completed pass from Keith Coleman to number 10, Jamie Ware, and it's going to be just short of the first down. Should bring up about 3rd and 1 on the play. Let's see where they mark it. Oh, they're going to call it a first down. As you see Jamie Ware running off the sideline after 2 big completions to bring his team deep into East Stroudsburg territory. But thus far, Jay, you notice how Shippensburg seems to be exploiting East Stroudsburg's defense.
The Shippensburg just looks like they had their act together. You know, we saw Jamie Ware go down the left side of the field for a nice pass, and it looks like ESU was almost called for too many men on the field there as one of their guys ran off.
Well, that play there, Kevin Washington, who was hurt in the first couple weeks of the season. We didn't see too much of him while we were here. Well, now he's healthy, and you know, I think that's a big key to have Kevin Washington back on this team because he gives them a leadership as a captain that the Red Raiders need to excel throughout the season.
That's a good point there, Ron. One thing we also have to mention is it's nice to have strong running backs in the backfield, but if you don't have a strong fullback in that blocker, you know, it's not going to help you at all because you need somebody that can get in there, open up that hole for you so you know you can take a little hit on the side and just continue to go through.
Rear Coleman drops back, finds Jamie Ware again inside the 15-yard line. That'll bring up another first down for Shippensburg. So here on this first drive, it's just been completions to Ware.
I think that's one combination we're going to see a lot today. And one thing that we mentioned, like we said, you know, when Jamie Ware checks out, Melvin Scott checks in. So, you know, if they try to stop Ware, they double team Ware, you can put Melvin Scott on the other side, and then you have another threat. So, you know, I'm really interested to see how ESU can combat, you know, a double threat like that.
Yeah, I talked to both Coach Reese and Coach Iruli throughout the week, and that was the big thing. They want to get Melvin Scott involved a little bit more. And that's the thing, if they can use Jamie Ware as they can, then like you said, when Melvin Scott comes in, he's going to be just as effective in what they want him to do in a game plan.
You know, and the thing is, you know, if they try double teaming both of them, you get a tight end right out the middle. He's wide open out in the middle of the field. He's got all day to get that ball to him. You know, that's something else that they'll probably be looking into.
And one thing is with the wing T offense, you won't see them use the tight end as much to go out as a pass, but they use them a lot to block. But when you're down here in this goal line, your red zone, as they call it, inside the 20, you're going to see a lot of Dave Klingerman going out for passes, and they have a thing called the belly pass where he'll go out. Right here, they hand off to Jeremy Brubaker. Brubaker bust up the middle, inside the 5, down to the 40-yard line. It's going to be about 1 yard short of the first. This should bring up a 3rd down and 1, or pretty much 3rd and goal as well.
You know, we were talking about it being homecoming weekend. You know, something just hit me like a brick wall that this will be my last homecoming as a student here at Shippensburg, because I hopefully will be graduating in May. So my days here at Ship are numbered as a student. So next year I'll be an alumni, which is a scary thought.
Now, Jay, the key words were hopefully, right? Was that right?
As long as everything stays the way it is today, you know, it keeps going that way, I'll be all right.
Well, on that play there, Gicking took the sneak up, picked up the first down. That'll bring up 1st and goal from about the 1 yard line with 11:07 left here in the first quarter of play. So Shippensburg is kind of doing exactly what they want to do. They want to strike early against any team, of course. And when the 2 games we did earlier this season, that's exactly what they did. They struck early and they won those 2 games. Now when they went on the road, that did not happen, and thus they lost 2 of the 3 games that they played. But I think it's good, definitely, for the coaching staff to see how Shippensburg's moving the ball here in their first drive. As this, the hands off to Brubaker. Brubaker put it in for the touchdown. It was almost like everybody expected the touchdown to come, so it took a while for the crowd to really get into it. But anyhow,
it's like, oh, okay, another run, another score, you know.
So if we get another look at that, again, Shippensburg up now 6-0. Going to go to kick the extra point. So Jeremy Brubaker takes in another touchdown for this Red Raider offense, who's just been pretty much explosive between the 4 running backs that they have throughout the season.
I was kind of expecting the cannon to blast there, so I was waiting for that to come, but I was disappointed on that one there. But one thing that we have to mention is that, you know, that drive right there took almost 5 minutes off the clock. So that's one thing that if Ship can keep that up, keep the effective game plan going, keep on scoring, run the clock down, this game will be over before you know it, and we'll have another win chalked up.
Well, Craig Lowe just put that extra point in, makes it 7-0. Shippensburg with 10:37 left to go here in the first quarter of play. And I think, Jay, this is just huge to see. I mean, you can see the crowd here. They're ready to come. They're pumped for homecoming. They're still pouring in because of the parade this morning, and everybody's trying to get out of bed after last night. Let's just hope they were studying lately. Anyhow, it's just kind of key, you know, see Shippensburg jump up 7-0 on East Stroudsburg, exploiting their defense. Now the key is going to see if Shippensburg's defense can stop East Stroudsburg's offense, which scored 35 points last week against Westchester.
It's one good point, Ron. I think the defense, and I know last night, I think I heard a little rumor of them calling a shutout. Now, I don't want to jinx them or anything, but if they could pull a shutout, I'd be very impressed by that. Not saying that, you know, defense isn't good, but a shutout is always incredible when it keeps doing it, especially from what I understand this morning. ESU's coach was a little fired up, you know, trying to get the team pumped up. He's coming to the Ship 0-4, knows Ship can be destructive, trying to fire his team up, so we'll wait and see what happens with that.
A lot of that could be the homecoming atmosphere, too, because last year Shippensburg played Lock Haven here at Seth Grove Stadium and shut them out 26-0. So again, you know, I know Shippensburg's definitely looking to get a shutout. Like you said, any time will be nice. But against a team like East Stroudsburg, I think it's going to be a little difficult, especially with their offense. Because really, East Stroudsburg has a good offense, their defense can't hold it. So you can score all the points you want against them, and they're just not going to be able to stop you.
The kick looked like it was caught at about the 24-yard line and stepped out as soon as he was caught. So we'll see where they mark the ball, because my field was blocked by the football player standing right there.
But yes, you see the offensive team on the sideline getting a little pregame chit-chat here as the offense did their job on their first drive. But, you know, the coaching staff wants to make sure that, hey, we need to do it every time we go out there on that field to put up points so we can win the game. A key part to the defense this week is the fact that Ryan Hout, who was a starting Will linebacker, as they call it, he's an outside linebacker, is hurt, and he'll be out pretty much for the rest of the season. So starting today, as you see here, a strong side right.
Looked like Rob Rice looking nice little hit, standing on the sideline there, and knocked a player right on his, behind it. I don't think he was expecting that one, but definite heads-up play by Rob right there.
Yeah, number 9, Andre Myers, was the one with that first down run. A gain of 11 on the play, bring up another first down. So right away you can see East Stroudsburg's offenses.
Now I have the time-honored tradition of the cheerleaders doing their push-ups down below.
So right now we have an I formation in the backfield. We have a strong side right with a quarterback, Will Birch. That pass will be incomplete to number 86, John Katarski. Takes you a while, you know. Once you get the first quarter going, you got to get the team down pretty good here. But don't be surprised to see a lot of Will Birch today. East Stroudsburg's known for their passing attack, and they're going to try to exploit Shippensburg's linebackers by spreading the team out. What they're going to try to do is have wide receivers using a lot of three-set wide receivers, which is what they're doing right now with a twins left and a single on the right. Birch drops back, and Kareem Brown sacks him for a loss of 5 on the play.
Just we were talking about the defense stepping up, making a big play. There you go. You know, ESU came out, you know, try getting that long pass on the side. The man was open. unfortunately he overthrew him, and the defense come back and just sacks the quarterback for a loss of yards there.
But I think Kareem Brown, number 54, he doesn't seem to get enough credit that a lot of the other players seem to always get. You always hear about the Clearys and you hear about the Jason Heckendorns, but you don't hear about the Kareem Browns. And last year he came in a lot of times for Shippensburg and had key sacks in helping them win big games against Bloomsburg and coming close to Slippery Rock. Again, Myers picks up a game of about 6 or 7 on a play. This is going to bring up 4th down as East Stroudsburg's going to have to punt it away. But already you can see the speed of Andre Myers. We're going to see a lot of him today, I think, for East Stroudsburg. But again, with that 3-set alignment that East Stroudsburg uses, they're going to try to spread out Shippensburg defense so they can move the ball down the field, similar to what they did against Westchester last week. So again,
Jamie Ware, and I can't make out who the other player back for the kick is.
well, number 8, Adam
like
Hostetler
35, Mike.
gets an East Stroudsburg rounds down inside the 10-yard line to the 5. So Adam Hostetler is counting his many blessings one by one as we're now inside the 10-minute mark here of the first quarter of play. Shippensburg up 7-0. So Shippensburg did what they needed to do, is stop the East Stroudsburg offense on their first drive, and let's see how Shippensburg will react, having to go 95 yards here on this drive, Jay.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they come out. Their first set of downs, they had decent field position. Now they got their back up against their own end zone. I'm sure ESU's defense is thinking safety, thinking big play. So I'm curious to see how Ship reacts to it.
Well, right here, Chris Gicking just called a timeout. He saw something on East Stroudsburg's defense that he didn't like. So that shows you kind of the leadership that he's kind of taken over, and Keith Coleman. They both can see what they don't like, and they're not, the coaches are giving them the ability, hey, if you have to call a timeout, call that timeout.
I'd rather see him, take that timeout, not necessarily say wasted, but, if you do make a stupid play or, you're not paying attention to what's going on, with your position like it is, stupid play, 2 points on the board, and they get excellent field position when you turn around. So definite heads-up play by the quarterback there.
Don't be surprised here in this set with Chris Gicking that they're going to try to get the ball towards the middle of the field. That'll set up more of a running room for the team. So don't be surprised to see maybe a sweep right coming around as East Stroudsburg has a 5-3 defense set up, 5 down linemen with a nose guard. This time they cut it the other way as Anthony Cleary brings it up to around the 13-yard line. So pretty much they did the opposite of what I just said, Jay, but I think that's why, because East Stroudsburg, they probably thought East Stroudsburg was thinking that's what was going to take place. Instead, they run clear the other way and pick up about 6 or 7 yards on the play.
I think that's why Rocky's down there making the big bucks. So
yeah, I think that's why. I think that's why I'm behind the microphone now and not out in the field also.
Exactly.
So we're inside about 8:30 left to go here in the first quarter of play. We got a strong side left. Gicking hands it off again to Big Cleary, and Anthony Cleary pulls in for the first down. Pick up about a gain of 5 on the play. That'll bring it up to the 19-yard line. We're seeing a lot of Cleary today. I talked to Coach Reese also before the game, and Coach Reese, one of the things he was pointing out is that they are going to use Anthony Cleary as a starting fullback this week. Now, of course, actually they started Jeremy Brubaker, but you're going to see more of Cleary, because you can also use Anthony Cleary as a blocking down fullback that opens up certain plays for Mike Erlinson to run around as Gicking drops back. The pass intended for number 81, Gordon May.
Couldn't tell if that pass was tipped a little bit or he just wind took a hold of that one. So like we mentioned earlier, the wind is definitely going to be a factor blowing from our left to right up here.
But we didn't hear too much about number 81, Gordon May, but apparently he did something in practice this week because he's out there playing pretty early in this game.
Yeah, it's one thing, like we were mentioning earlier, it's not really the same people get to play all the time. If you really step your game up and move it up to the next level, that just goes to show that anybody can be out of here playing.
Yeah, and the coaches will point that out, especially when we see the defense, that especially in the linebacker position with Ryan Houck going down, they're going to use a lot of freshmen. As Dave Brown breaks through, he's going to the 40. If he could break the tackle, no, but number 42, Jason Zinn, brings him down inside the East Stroudsburg 40. Dave Brown with a big run.
Dave Brown had an excellent stiff on there. Got about another 10, 15 yards on that carry with that stiff arm. He couldn't be brought down. And that goes to show you again, that's what we're talking about, that preseason training and the season training, get yourself physically fit to play. your forearms and legs aren't set, you're going to be brought down easily. And that just goes to show you what personal physical training can do.
And again, Dave Brown just picked up, they said 39 yards on the play as they try to get back to Brown, and he might have just made it back to the line of scrimmage, bringing up a 2nd and long situation. But as you can see, Shippensburg, as we said, they started the ball on their own 5-yard line, and they're charging right up the field here. And this is exactly what the Shippensburg staff wants. They want to go ahead and score early, and you could see the weaknesses in the East Stroudsburg defense. Beside their key linebacker, the East Stroudsburg's defense is not really stepping it up. The linebackers aren't stepping it up, and they're using a five-man set, so this enables them to put more people on the field and exploit them in the passing game, as we'll see again here as kicking completes it to Dave Klingerman. Be about a yard shy of the 1st down, bringing up 3rd and 1. But this is exactly what's going to happen. East Stroudsburg saying, okay, as the wing T team, we're going to try to stop your run. Well, that's why I think a lot of the reason why Chris Gicking is starting today, because I think he's better with the short passes. Coleman's better with the big play. And so that's exactly what you're going to see a lot of passes to Jamie Ware, a lot of passes to Dave Klingerman. And we're just going to, or I should say Shippensburg are just going to continue to score touchdowns all day.
One thing we're emphasizing is, those short passes, but on that play right there, ESU was coming around the right side. It looked like it was going to be sacked. All of a sudden, an offensive lineman comes out of nowhere, makes a big block to let the quarterback get that pass off. So you have to give credit to the offensive line for, being with it and keeping their game to let that quarterback sit back in the pocket and see what he wants to do and give him time to throw.
Well, East Stroudsburg, I'm pretty sure, was the one that asked for the measurement. That gives them time to chit-chat on the sideline, try to get the defense regrouped a little bit. But again, it is a Shippensburg 1st down with under 7 minutes left to go here in the 1st quarter of play, as Gicking brings his team out of the huddle. The Shippensburg Red Raiders were a strong side right. They got Klingerman on the outside flank. Don't be surprised to see a sweep right here. It's exactly what you see as a handoff to Erlinson. Erlinson crosses, gets up close to the 20. It's going to be close to a 1st down, bring up that 2nd down and 1. They might, depending on where they spot the ball, Erlinson might have the 1st down.
I don't know about your opinion of that, but I think he had a big enough hole to roll a regiment of tanks through on that one there.
Again, our Jason Taylor will comment with you on any Army barrack equipment that you need. Of course, we won't go any further, but Letterkenny may not have any left. Okay, so we're under 6.5 left to go here in the 1st quarter of play. Again, Shippensburg 7-0. Come out to strong side right, Gicking with a play-action fake. Finds Jamie Ware. Ware keeps his feet in bounds and gets it up to the 5-yard line. A wonderful play by Jamie Ware.
Excellent agility on the play. Looked down, saw where he had to put his feet down, put him right down on the other side of the line, turned it up the field, and unfortunately was stopped, so he couldn't get that upfield for the touchdown, but definitely a heads-up play by Jamie Ware. And there you go again. The quarterback had time. Jamie Ware just stopped, turned around, waved, and the ball was right in his hands. I mean, excellent play by SU.
Yeah, so far that's 4 completions to Jamie Ware. So I think they know Shippensburg has found their strong points today. Just go to Jamie Ware, and before the end of the game, he's going to have numbers that's going to give him All-American.
Like we said earlier, they're going to Jamie Ware. They start double teaming Jamie Ware. Okay, you throw in Melvin Scott now on the other side. So it'll be very interesting to see how this game goes out today.
Well, right now we had 1st and goal here
Not sure
at the
what
5-yard line. Looked like a false start perhaps on the defense or a delay of game penalty. I noticed that the clock went down, so it's going to be a delay of game on Shippensburg. Be a 5-yard, bringing up 1st and 10 from the 10-yard line, pretty much 1st and goal. So the clock begins again with 5:40 and counting in here in the 1st quarter of play, with Shippensburg threatening to score once again on East Stroudsburg. As Chris Gicking brings the team out of the huddle with a strong side left. He's got 2 wide receivers to the right, both Jamie Ware and Melvin Scott. He's looking both ways, sees Jamie Ware across the middle, touchdown! Right to Jamie Ware. A 10-yard pass, and Jamie Ware deserved the touchdown on these last 2 drives, Jay.
That was nice by Jamie Ware. I thought that ball was going to get knocked out of his hands, but he pulled that ball back up and made it touchdown. That was an excellent play right there. He definitely did. He earned that one right there.
And something that you don't see too often in college football is when you see 14 points scored in perhaps the first, let's say, 5-10 minutes of play. Yeah. This is going to be a high-scoring game if it continues to go like this, because East Stroudsburg defense so far, as Shippensburg kicks the extra point, make it 14-0. Their defense so far cannot stop Shippensburg's offense, and they're just moving right down the field.
I want to ask you a question, Ron, see if you remember. I do remember a game in my 4 years here where Ship scored like 73 points in a game or something. Do you remember that one?
Jay, how old are you?
20.
Before my time.
Sure?
Yeah, I think so. I think that would have been.
That might have been my freshman year.
It would have been perhaps maybe the year of maybe the 95 season or the 96 season. It could have been early 96 season.
They scored like 73 or like 50 to 70 points. I remember that one, but the game was just incredible that day.
Now, Shippensburg has experienced some losses like that. A couple of years back when they faced Clarion here at home during their 3-8 season, Shippensburg was demolished by Clarion. It was something around 56-14. Of course, Shippensburg's changed a lot since then, going on a 6-4 record last season, already starting off 3-2, above 500. Looking well on the way to try to put this game away. I mean, granted, we're early here in the first quarter, but Shippensburg seems to be moving the ball well, and definitely the coaching staff is seeming very positive at the moment. But definitely on the sideline, they're going to continue to talk things over. They want to continue to put points on the board, knowing that East Stroudsburg has a good offense, and they can threaten. And they scored 35 points against Westchester. Again, they could score 35 points against Shippensburg. We have a whistle being blown here, a stoppage of play. But things look to be getting on the road once again as the wind continues to blow the football off the tee. Usually you'll see this happen twice, Jay, and apparently on the third one, usually somebody comes down to hold it.
I'm looking to see if I can find any information on that game I was referring to see if maybe we can top that one today.
So again, with 5:22 left to go here, we got an onside kick. And Shippensburg might have recovered. Let's wait to see the official ruling. Of course, now the officials have to ply everybody apart and see who actually has the ball. So we'll see here with 5:15 left to go. And apparently East Stroudsburg recovered the ball. Again, Shippensburg up 14-0. So with 5:15 left to go here in the first quarter play. We had some type of false start on Shippensburg. That penalty will be declined because East Stroudsburg will have the ball on the 44-yard line in their own territory. Hopefully we can get up the starting lineup, the starting offensive lineup here for East Stroudsburg. Take a look at them.
I can't find the fact I'm looking for, but the biggest Shippensburg win against ESU was 38-0 in 1936. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get close to that one today.
Well, as Michael Reggae says for HTS, we're halfway home. So with under 5 minutes left to play here in the first quarter of play, it's 14-0. Tim Kronitsky made a tackle on that last play as East Stroudsburg picks up one, bring up a 2nd down and 9 from their own 44-yard line. So waiting to see here how East Stroudsburg brings this offense out. So far today, Jay, the East Stroudsburg offense has come out and really looked flat. They had the one run by Myers early in the first quarter on their first drive, and beside that long run, they can't get the throwing game on as the pass this time.
I was almost picked off on the tip by ESU. The number looked like 22 for Ship. No. There we go, the Warrior offense up on the screen for you can see right now.
Okay, here we go. Here's the Warrior offense at wide receiver. You have Larry Harrison, also Jason Clush. Starting on the offensive line, you have Doug Cleary, no relation to Anthony, Jim Sedano, Joe Terra, Joseph Bolling, Dan Bratton, the quarterback Will Birch, Bill Krebs. And continuing with the rest of the East Stroudsburg offense as we have 4:20 left to go here in the first quarter. The Shippensburg defense forces East Stroudsburg once again to have to go into a punting situation, Jay.
On those last two plays that we just saw, you had Jamie Fox and Marty Brown, who almost came up with 2 interceptions. Quarterback overthrew the intended receiver, and they get that hand on the ball, deflects a little bit. As Shippensburg almost had 6 points on the board, it looked like on that one. Once again, ESU's got to punt the ball.
Adam Hostetter punted. Jamie Ware this time back to receive, back there with Mike Erlinson. Pretty much has nowhere to go as Ware goes around the outside corner. And he's going to be tackled hard there around the 10-yard line by number 84, Chris Bath. It's a big play there for East Stroudsburg to tackle Jamie Ware down inside the 10-yard line.
Looks like we got 4:06 left on the board with the score of 14-0. As once again, Ship will start with their backup against their own end zone. We'll see how they come out. You know, last time they were in the same position, a little further back, they opened up with a huge run up the middle by Clearly, if I remember correctly, which opened up. And then he had a nice pass completion, which moved them up the field, and Jamie Ware scored. So we'll see if they can do the same thing here.
Right now they had a man in motion. And here's Jeremy Brubaker, bust up. He'll pick up the first down.
You know, it looks like the same play he did like last time with Clear, except this time they used Brubaker on the other side of the
back
field.
the other way. What you'll see a lot of offenses do is if they're on the hash marks, which are the small lines on each side, when they're on the hash marks, what they'll try to do is angle it towards the middle of the field. That gives them more room on each side to work with. So apparently that's what they did there as they ran Jeremy Brubaker up on his trunk side right play. Bring up first down with under 3:40 left to go here in the first quarter of play. Coleman drops back his time, hands it off to Brubaker. He picked up another 3 on the play. As you notice, it seems like Keith Coleman has checked in the game for Shippensburg after Chris Gicking led his team to 2 touchdown scores. So it's going to be interesting to see if Keith Coleman can do the same thing, Jay.
Looks like some of the fans are indulging themselves in the helium balloons here and streaming and yelling what it sounds like. I don't know what type of voice to describe it in.
Maybe at halftime we'll entertain you. And
yeah, maybe we'll get some of the fans up here with their helium balloons to entertain you for a while.
This pass here was completed by Keith Coleman as we got distracted by the helium affair up here as Melvin Scott picks up a first down. So continually, it doesn't matter which quarterback the Shippensburg puts in, they're just continuing to move the ball in the East Stroudsburg offense. Well, right now we have the crowd getting into it a little bit.
SU fans, gotta love them.
We got a strong side left here for Shippensburg with under 2:45 left to go. The handoff to Washington. He'll cross the 50-yard line.
That was Nate Robinson.
Nate Robinson actually crossed the 50-yard line, bringing up a 2nd down and 7 for Shippensburg. We got under 2.5 minutes left to go here in this first quarter play as Shippensburg is up 14-0. And Jay, it just seems like so far Shippensburg's offense just can't be stopped. They seem to be spreading out the defense. If you look, East Stroudsburg, they're running a 5-man set. They're trying to stop the run, but Shippensburg just continuing to throw, and they're exploiting that defensive secondary.
That's one thing we said. I'm sorry, Ron. That's one thing we said earlier. You know, they have the run, they stop the run, they go to the pass, they try stopping the pass, they go back to the run. You know, Shippensburg has a very diverse offense, and there again you see number 9, Kevin Washington, you know, with the ball gained a few yards and actually got the first down on the play.
And we'll point out the fact once again that they've given up over 300 yards of rushing a game. And the fact is that in the wing T offense, it's primarily a rushing offense. So you're going to be expected to see a lot of Shippensburg running today as well, and just running right all over East Stroudsburg as Keith Coleman drops back. He has a wide open man. Nate Robinson, it's incomplete. Robinson bobbled. He was wide open. Definitely a ball that should have been caught by Nate Robinson.
That would have been nice if that would have been a completion. I think that would have really gotten the crowd. I don't want to say they're out of it, but, you know, got a little warmth in our hearts.
Yeah.
Chill out of the air.
Exactly. I think right now the Shippensburg crowd is starting to get spoiled with the fact that, hey, you put 14 points right up on the board, you kind of get out of it a little bit. And that's one thing the coaching staff don't want. They don't want the team to start letting down. And, you know, East Stroudsburg could get maybe a turnover here or something like that, and momentum just switches their way.
You know, you really don't want to run up the score. I mean, you see a lot of teams do it, but I mean, you really have to keep the players, you know, keep the intentions there. You know, make sure they don't, you know, step back on their heels. You know, you got to really keep them on their toes. So like you said, you don't cause a fumble interception. And there you go. Right now, there's a flag on the play, so we'll have to see what the result of that was.
Well, we got a flag on a play, but number 51, Mike Ryan of East Stroudsburg, made a beautiful tackle in the backfield. And since the penalty be on Shippensburg, it'd be interesting to see if they take the penalty or they call or they don't. Because if they don't take the penalty, then it's already like a 2-3 yard loss for Shippensburg as the penalty is declined, bringing up a 3rd and long situation here for Shippensburg. As the crowd's trying to get back into it once again.
Trying to get the fans back into it, get them on camera here.
We have a strong side left here with about under a minute and a half left to go. Keith Coleman drops back, looks for Nate Robinson once again, and Robinson, the ball was just a little bit overthrown to Robinson. It's going to bring up 4th down, so Shippensburg's going to have to punt. So the first time East Stroudsburg has forced Shippensburg to punt on their 3rd drive here today. Also, again, we want to say with under a minute 20 left to go, and don't be surprised to see perhaps some type of fake here with the ball on the 43-yard line. Back to receive the punt initially was number 34, Eric Brown, but the ball was down by Anthony Cleary inside the 20-yard line on a 15.
They're not too enthusiastic.
With, again, 14-0. 14-0 with 1:09 left to go here in the first quarter of play. So Jay, it's gonna be interesting to see how Shippensburg's defense, if we can get a chance also to see what the starting defense and who's all playing here today, see the starting defense and how they're going to stop the East Stroudsburg offense once again.
If you say so.
Again, you see East Stroudsburg uses their 3 wide receiver set to try to spread out the Red Raider defense. As Red Raiders are down in a 4-3 situation. This time Myers is smacked right at the line of scrimmage.
What was he?
By smacked.
Okay.
Smacked.
I just wanted to make sure I heard that one correctly. I don't think I've ever heard that one used in football before.
Didn't quite see who it was that got him at the line of scrimmage there. Looked like it was perhaps number 34, Matt Surface. Matt Surface has been stepping up huge for this linebacking core of the Red Raider defense with Ryan Houck out at the will linebacker. Matt Surface has went between the Sam linebacker and the will linebacker, just as Coach I really point out before the game. And definitely it's been a big key.
You know, that's one name that we mentioned the first week or two that we did this, was that Matt. It's Matt's name, there again, he steps up big. There he just saw a play. It was a pass out to the left side. It looked like they got the first down. They're going to move the markers. We got 27 seconds left in the first quarter. A score of 14-0 Shippensburg. Looks like the ball's going to be marked on about the 26-yard line.
We got an official's timeout here, waiting to see what the play is all about. Apparently, they're going to refer to the coaches on the sideline here and try to figure something out here. So in the meantime, East Stroudsburg and the Shippensburg team put their team in a defense. Apparently had to do something with the sideline judge, figuring out where the 10-yard marker is. And you can see the crowd here at Shippensburg today on homecoming.
One thing that I noticed is if you look behind us, it looks like that sun's breaking out and the clouds are starting to move overhead, so hopefully it'll warm up here a little bit.
We'll just have to continue to pray for it as you continue to see that the sun's coming out on the field a little bit. We have a false start there. There was no flag on the play, but Myers has met at the line of scrimmage. But yeah, their flag is down. Should be a false start on East Stroudsburg. And that's definitely not what East Stroudsburg wants. If you watch a team like last week where the 49ers played the Buffalo Bills and the 49ers made offensive mistakes, and they made a lot of penalties, a lot of bonehead plays, and that was the reason why the Buffalo Bills were able to upset them. And that's something today that East Stroudsburg, they cannot afford to have penalties. So
in order for me to have seen that would require me to watch TV and watch the game. So
well, that game wasn't televised yet.
Oh, okay.
But again, what I was pointing out is that, East Stroudsburg can't afford to make penalties. Of course, that last penalty was on Shippensburg, but they can't afford to have penalties if they want to upset Shippensburg today here in Shippensburg. As Myers takes the handoff around the left side, picking up the first down to around the 40-yard line. And that's going to be the last play here of the first quarter, as we're going to be taking a short commercial break. Again, the score, Shippensburg 14, East Stroudsburg nothing. And we'll take our quick break here with Shippensburg up 14-0, and stick around. With Shippensburg up 14-0 as the East Stroudsburg offense tries to start here in the second quarter of play on their own 38-yard line as it gets a little chilly up here on the press box.
Just a tad.
East Stroudsburg uses a 3 wide receiver set. As this time the fullback for East Stroudsburg, number 45, Tim Pollock, gets a 5-yard gain on the play. Actually, they're going to call it a gain of 7, bringing up second down and 3.
And here's the Red Raider defense that we were talking about. You got Jason Heckendorn, Chopper Schlock, Chris Hillman, Kareem Brown, Matt Surface, Mike Crowell. I can't really read the names over the screen.
Okay, Leonard. Also, the freshman Leonard Wheeler at the outside linebacker position, which is key. Then you got at cornerback Tony Green, Deion Harrison, Phil Galliano, which we saw that big 95-yard fumble recovery a couple weeks back, and then Marty Brown starting at the safety position. So again, here with under 14 minutes pretty much left to go here in the first half of play, bring up a big key 3rd and 1 for East Stroudsburg. Jay, this is a very key time that East Stroudsburg needs this first down.
I think they definitely, like you were saying, they need to do something here. You know, the tide of the game has definitely been on Chip's side. If they don't do something, I think Chip is just going to come back and just walk all over them. So it'll be, you know, like you said, they have to do something here. Looked like the quarterback will keep it. It looked like we could stuff right the line of scrimmage on that one. So I don't think that's really what they were looking for on that play.
And again, Matt Surface was right in on it. And his job as a Sam linebacker, he's the one that tells the defense from the defensive coach Iaruli what the play is going to be, what stunts they're going to run. And it's really important that everybody does their job. But he's very important to this team as a Sam linebacker. He's the one telling the guys that he's kind of like the quarterback on defense. And so he's got to continue to step up like he's doing right now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but that looks like clearly lining up on the far side of the field right there.
Yeah, it seems to be that they're going to use Cleary in more of a blocking situation for a possible return, as Erlinson's not going to have too much room to run, as he's going to pick up about a gain of 3 on the play. Brought down in a combination of number 49, J.D. Granger.
You know, that's one thing I do have to give ESU credit on is their special teams. You know, we really haven't seen too many large runs on the special teams plays.
Yeah, definitely. That's something East Stroudsburg's special teams seems to be stepping up, making sure that there's no big play for Shippensburg and that part of things. But the thing is, right now they need to stop the Shippensburg offense, and they just don't seem to be able to as Klingerman goes in motion, making it a strong side left with 2 backs in the back. You have both Cleary and Dave Brown, who had that long run earlier in the back. Here's a handoff to Dave Brown. Brown goes around the left side, and he's got an open break. The only man to beat is number 21, Rob Flores.
Looks
and
like
Brown, a 30-20, the 10 touchdown. Dave Brown picks up a big touchdown. He had that big 49-yard run earlier, or actually it was a 39-yard run earlier, and now Dave Brown is going to pick up about a gain of 70 on that for the touchdown. They're going to call it an 80. I think they called that an 80-yard run.
But is it coincidence that they score a touchdown on a play like that, and the sun just beams out at the same time up here?
All I can say is there's an amen in the congregation, because I'll tell you one thing, my hands are warm up here. It's the same time we score.
Here we got the replay on there. You see him breaking through, and then it's just wide open from there.
Breaks down right in the left side of the field. The only man again, the stop there was number 21, Rob Flores, and he just doesn't have enough speed to catch Dave Brown. So as Shippensburg lines up here, as you see the players gathering around, as the extra point is good. And Shippensburg is up here 21-0 in the first half. It doesn't even look like East Stroudsburg has even showed up today, Jay.
I don't think they have their run. You know, like we were saying, ESU had to step out, make a big play. Ship was going to walk all over him. Turns around, you get almost, what, 70, 80-yard run down the field for a touchdown. I don't think that's what SU really wanted to do here today. And I think ESU better go in at halftime, get their heads together, better come out during the second half of play and do something. They're just going to get pummeled during the second half.
Well, again, as we pointed out, if you notice, the sun has come out a little bit here. And, you know, if we continue to score and the sun keeps coming out, that's great. So, again, it's 21-0 Shippensburg here with 12:47 left to go in the first half of play. Basically, you know, this offense is clicking right here today. It's exactly what Shippensburg wanted. And we pointed out the fact at the beginning, since the beginning, that East Stroudsburg cannot stop the run. And so far, Dave Brown, who's in his sophomore season, has really ran all over top of East Stroudsburg today.
I don't think clicking would be appropriate, where I think a well-oiled piece of machinery would be more appropriate for what this team's doing. They're just all together. Offense making excellent runs, excellent passes. Defense coming together, putting the rush on, you know, getting a few sacks here and there. Special teams, you know, giving SU lousy field position. I mean, they're just excellent today. All around well-played game so far.
And nothing against East Stroudsburg. As you see here, the kickoff return here for East Stroudsburg.
That's like Ron, what you're just saying, that we're not trying to put down ESU here, but I mean, Ship is just playing an excellent game. You know, they're getting everything just to click, like you said. And I just think ESU has what it takes to stop them right now.
Yeah, and I think we have to point out once again that it's key here for Shippensburg to do well this week. Next week they go on the road to Clarion. They have some huge games here at the end of the season. If they want to win this PSAC Western Championship, they're going to have to go ahead and they're going to have to beat the teams like Slippery Rock, who's ranked in the nation. You're going to have to beat the teams like IUP, who's ranked second in the nation. And right now, you know, this is a chance for them really, not, I shouldn't say to practice, but that's what they're doing against a team like East Stroudsburg. They're able to get the defense on and gear here and get the offense ready to go. So when they get towards the end of the season or road games like next week, they're ready for it.
They just saw an incomplete pass, but one thing, like you're saying, Ron, IUP, which is, if I recall correctly, has always been traditionally a strong team. I always give Ships a hard time. You know, I think it was last year they were expected to, you know, just come in and pummel Ship, and we turned around and got a win out of it, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, this is definitely a team, when they have their act together, can go very far, but they need to keep themselves, you know, in tune and keep clicking, because they can go far, I think.
Well, again, Mike Kutch will bring his team out, and it's going to be sacked there by number 75, Chris Heilman. And in the first two games of the season, we definitely mentioned a lot by Chris Heilman. So Will Birch is sacked there for a loss of about 4 or 5 yards. But Chris Heilman has been key ever since he's come to Shippensburg.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. You know, the offense is doing their part in scoring, but the defense stepped up big. You know, we said they were putting the pressure on it there again. You know, another sack, pushing them back even farther, get their back up against their own end zone and let them feel a little bit of pressure here. So it stands at, you know, 3rd down, 15 to go with just under 12 minutes left to play. So,
well, checking in here on defense, they had Anthony Cleary checking in as a defensive tackle as he ran a stunt, which took him on the outside, and that's why Will Birch was able to get up and pick up a gain of about 7 on the play. This will bring up another 4th down as the sun is bright and beautiful out here, I tell you.
That feels nice right now.
So right now, Adam Hostetter is ready to punt for his 3rd time today. Jay?
You know, once again, we were saying about ESU's excellent, you know, special teams. Here we go again with the punt. It was a low snap off the ground. Looks like that one's going to be booted out at about the 45-yard line. That Ship will start out with some excellent field position here. Hopefully make it 48-0.
Yeah, that was only a 24-yard punt there by Adam Hostetter. And really, that's your job as a punter. You don't want your defensive players and your offensive players yelling at you. That's all you do in practice. You run a little bit and you practice kicking. They don't want you to kick 24-yard punts.
Yeah, that's one thing. I'm not trying to put down the kickers or punters. I mean, they do have a very tough job, but their only responsibility is to get that ball down the field. And right there, you know, you can kind of blame the hiker for giving them a low snap, you know, maybe giving them a little bit of jitters, but 24-yard punt's not going to.
Well, here's a strong side right here by Nate Robinson as he jumps over a defender, a number 44, Kevin Nagel, guy we pointed out earlier in, before the game, who has 51 tackles and 2 interceptions on the season. Makes a tackle with about a 9-yard gain. Actually, they're gonna call that 9, so it's gonna be 2nd down and 1 on the play with under 10:55 left to go here in the first half of play.
Looks about to be a long one there too.
We start at the strong side right, Gicking back in for the team. Incomplete to Dave Klingerman, and that's definitely a caught ball that Dave Klingerman, as a senior, had a very successful tight end in this PSAC. He needs to catch that ball.
He knows he should have had that one. It looks like he smacked himself in the head for that one there.
And one good thing about Dave Klingerman is his leadership, is the fact that he'll come right back and he'll catch the ball in the next play whenever they ask to throw it to him, because that's what the coaches expect of him.
Yeah, it's one thing about good players. They know they made a mistake. They know what they did wrong. They know how to adjust themselves to go out there, do the same play over again, and make the completion.
Right now, Shippensburg lines up here with a strong side left. There's a handoff to Cleary. Cleary busts right up through, runs over number 42, Jason Zen. He's going to pick up a big first down, and that's a big reason why he was recruited at Penn State, Jed.
You have to give Jason Zen credit. I mean, that was like a Mack truck coming through the whole area. That was a nice open field tackle. Unfortunately, Cleary couldn't get past him, because that would have been another 6 points on the board right there.
Yeah, you have to point out the fact that Anthony Cleary probably outweighs Jason Zen about by 100 pounds or 100 kilos if you want to go Russian. But anyhow, we're going to bring up a strong side right. Don't be super surprised to go back to Cleary. Cleary makes a nice block for Erlinson. There's going to be a fumble, and East Stroudsburg has recovered. A huge turnover, huge fumble recovery, I should say, for East Stroudsburg. That is not exactly what Shippensburg wanted. And Mike Erlinson's definitely going to be upset at himself after that.
Definitely. I mean, it looked like Erlinson was about to bounce around the outside, and all of a sudden it was a swarm of VSU players. And unfortunately, he couldn't keep his hands on the ball, and it got knocked out. There you see a picture of Ship's sideline, the players talking to the coaches, talking about what happened, and hopefully they'll be able to get that one back.
And if you noticed after a play like that, when you're the guy who fumbles the ball, if you notice, nobody was talking to Mike.
Yeah.
Erlinson, they want him to regroup on his own as Birch rolls right, looking for somebody to throw to, has nobody to throw to. It's going to be tackled there, out of bounds by number 40, Josh Goodman, who's been stepping up huge so far this season for Shippensburg.
Maybe this is the turn of events that the issue was looking for. They caused the fumble, got the recovery. Not that I'm saying I don't want them to score, but it'd be nice if the Ship defense could hold them here, give Ship's offense another chance to come back down the field.
Okay, you're on 2.
Yeah, it's definitely because Shippensburg's defense, they don't want East Stroudsburg's offense to start going. Again, we pointed out they scored 35 points against Westchester last week. Shippensburg only scored 21, and Westchester has a wonderful defense. Now, granted, they gave up 50-some-odd points against Westchester as well, as we're going to have perhaps a false start on this play, perhaps on East Stroudsburg. So wait to see what the penalty call is. But again, we want to point out a little bit more about Josh Goodman, the fact that he is a freshman, and he has stepped up huge. You're going to see a lot of Wheeler again today, with the fact that Ryan Hout is out perhaps for the rest of the season. And Leonard Wheeler, he's also a freshman, pretty much starting his first game today. So, they're expecting a lot of their young linebackers, and we knew this coming into the season. The guys who were returning, they were really young. If you think of the guys who started last year, you had George Bannis, Mike Vanook, Mike Long. These are starting seniors that all graduated. So you're starting out with a whole new core of linebackers. And really, so far this season, they've stepped up big.
Yeah, it's one thing, like you just said, we mentioned them earlier in the season, too. We talked about how big and how key players they were, and there you go. They're stepping up, doing their jobs, and how young they are.
Well, again, if you notice, East Stroudsburg line up again in a 3-wide receiver set, trying to exploit somehow the Shippensburg defense. But Shippensburg's just all over it. They know on certain ways that East Stroudsburg lines up that they're going to run the ball right up the middle, trying to exploit their running game. But it's just not working.
Looks like somebody on Ship's side definitely did their homework and definitely looked over their playbook, if you want to even say, their formations is the word I'm looking for there. You expect them to go left, and everyone on the field's going right, and there the ball ends up on the right side and just goes nowhere.
Yeah, definitely, that's something that Coach Iruli and the defensive staff, they got going all the time. Coach Iruli and Coach O'Neill, they have it down to a textbook decision, and also Coach Seiler, as Kareem Brown blocks down the pass
there again, you saw the 3 wideouts, expecting to pass, and all of a sudden somebody sticks their arm up in the air and stops it. These are the big plays that the defense is looking for and that they're coming up with. Big defensive plays. Now it's 4th and 16, and now ESU's got to kick the ball.
Yeah, and definitely, after recovering that fumble, and you want to have that as a momentum. But, when you can't move the ball anymore, you're not getting any momentum shift, and now they're going to have to punt it again as Hostetter punts it away. This time it's a nice-looking punt, as Erlinson calls a fair catch, and he definitely makes sure he catches the ball this time.
He's definitely making sure he's not going to drop that one there.
Yeah. So, again, like we said, Shippensburg up 21-0 here over East Stroudsburg, as Shippensburg will start at their 41-yard line.
I don't know if you've noticed or not, Ron, but every time ESU kicks the ball, Ship keeps getting closer and closer to blocking that. There, again, I don't know, the rusher, I guess, would be the appropriate word when he gets a kick. How to step back because you don't want to get a penalty on the play. But he came close to getting his hands up in front of that ball and stop it from going downfield.
And that's one thing last year, they set their own team record, and actually I think they set a PSAC record with 8 block kicks, so they can do it. This time kicking goes deep to Melvin Scott, just overthrown to Scott as we're about to enter under 9 minutes left to go here in the first half of play with Shippensburg up 21-0. So again, kicking is back in. If you remember, Keith Coleman came back on one series, didn't get the team moving, and he came right back out. So maybe Shippensburg's realizing, and the coaching staff realizes, that with Gicking at the quarterback, at the helm, that with him the team seems to be scoring today. And it just seems to be maybe Chris Gicking's day.
That goes along what we said. Jamie Ware was making the big plays. They possibly shut down Jamie Ware. So what do? They bring in Melvin Scott for the big play.
Well, again, we have a strong side left. We have Washington going in motion. Washington will take the handoff, cross around the left side, and pick up about a gain of 1 on the play. That'll bring up a 3rd down and long, 3rd and 9. So wait to see here as we go we're finally under the 9-minute mark here in the first half of play. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here on this 3rd and long decision, as they have Jamie Ware flanked out to the right side, and that's who they're looking towards. As Gicking rolls, it finds Jamie Ware, and it's going to be an incomplete pass. A wonderful play there by number 21, the defensive back, Rob Flores. And of course, Flores earlier was out sprinted by Dave Brown, but Flores makes a key defensive play there for East Stroudsburg.
I think that's the first time or second time that ESU stopped the Ship from moving down the field and getting field position. And unfortunately, Ship's got to punt the ball. It's with 8:28 left to go in the second quarter here. But maybe ESU's finally getting their act together and finally stopping Ship here. So we'll have to wait and see what ESU does on this set of downs.
Yeah, that was the first time under the helm of Chris Gicking. They stopped him early with Coleman, and it's going to be curious. That's a beautiful spiral. Wonderful Shippensburg defensive play. Couldn't quite see who it was that was set back to return the ball originally. It looked like it was number 31, Eric McCoskey.
Tim Korniski looked like he got a little pep in his step when he saw the guy drop the ball. Really stepped up and went downfield, but unfortunately couldn't get there quick enough.
Actually, it was number 34, Eric Brown. Eric Brown originally had his hands on the ball and dropped the ball.
No, I mean on the Ship side.
Okay, well, actually, it was a lovely punt there by the punter for Shippensburg, Bill Ship. So East Stroudsburg tries to bring out their offense here with a strong side right. Again, using that 3 wide receiver set, which seems it hasn't been working today. This time a handoff back to Myers, and Myers is going to roll right, pick up the first down, tackled in the secondary there by number 21, Tony Green. It's going to be a first down there for East Stroudsburg. So again, Will Birch is trying to, exploit Myers, because Myers seems to be what's really working so far today for East Stroudsburg. They've done it a couple of times, been tackled for a couple of big losses as they go back to this 3 wide receiver set. They're going to have seems like a strong side left. Birch is going to drop back. He's looking for a man. He's got a man open way downfield, number 81, Jason Clush, and he'll make the reception for a big 14-yard gain, giving another East Stroudsburg first down. East Stroudsburg's offense seems to start clicking, Jay.
Yeah, it's about time. Unfortunately, it's late in the second quarter, but I mean, there's still an eternity left to go in this football game. If they keep this up, I wouldn't be surprised if they get the clock down to about maybe 2-3 minutes with 6 points on the board. I'm definitely calling that one right now.
Well, I was talking to WSYC's very own Scott McGinnis, and we made some predictions today, and he said something like 55 and 21, and I made it my early prediction of I think I said 41 to 14. But as you see, Myers again coming up to pick up the first down. So I think, you know, kind of to pass along what we were saying, though, we just thought that Shippensburg was going to really outscore East Stroudsburg. But right now, you know, number 9, Andre Myers has really been stepping up key here for East Stroudsburg.
Yeah, definitely. There we go again. You know, a nice run. You know, a nice second effort there to, you know, get the extra down. But like you said, you know, ESU's finally getting their game to gear, finally starting to click. If they keep this up, this is going to give us for a very interesting second half. You know, possibly make it even closer, make it very interesting for both sides of the field.
Well, this is key here for East Stroudsburg because this is the first time in Shippensburg territory today. And with 7:02 left in the first half and down by 21, they're going to have to start going as that pass was intended for 82 Bill Krebs. So Birch with another incomplete pass, bringing up 2nd and 10 with under 7 minutes left to go. But this is huge. East Stroudsburg is going to have to score on this drive, as you said, Jay. You do not want to go into halftime shut out with no points on the board.
You know, it's not too bad. You know, they're only down by 3 touchdowns, like we were saying. You know, you still have a whole half, but if the team goes in with a 21, 28-0 lead, you know, that really makes them feel good. You know, they're going to want that shutout. They're going to taste it more and more. It's going to make it even harder for ESU to get points on the board.
Yeah, and definitely it's also key, though, as a coaching staff, you do not want your team to get overconfident.
Right.
You don't want to be up 21-0, 28-0, as Will Birch calls a timeout as he sees something in the Shippensburg defense he doesn't like. But you don't want, you know, your team to go in too cocky and up-headed and have East Stroudsburg come out in the second half and just play away. So, yeah, definitely, you know, Shippensburg needs to keep on their heels and just continue to keep the defense up. And really, they can't afford to have East Stroudsburg moving this ball right down the field as they have been. As you'll see, Coach Dave Seiler and Coach O'Neill, Coach Iaroli all out try to get the defense back together again, try to get everything growing. Just a little tidbit note on Coach Dave Seiler. This is something he coached the rival high school of mine back home that we used to always play. This is kind of a neat, another back hometown thing, Jay, that just kind of makes me feel warm at heart. But you know,
2 words, glory days again. Right?
Again, we have to, as you see, the cheerleaders are out today. Again, it's homecoming. Just, you know, pretty much a standing room only along the fences, and just everybody's all excited here to see the game today. Yeah,
No,
like last year. Okay, go, Jack.
It's one thing nice, you know, that, you know, the football team's playing their support. But, you know, it's nice to see people, you know, have pride in school, all the alumni coming back, you know, seeing their friends that they graduated with, having a good time, you know, and then, you know, current students out here having a good time, supporting their fellow classmates, and hopefully they'll win today. Hopefully having some, you know, safe, clean fun tonight.
And of course, you said safe and clean fun. That's very good. As Will Birch rolls right, looks for a receiver as the receiver number 86, John Katarski, fell down and couldn't quite make the reception. So again, East Stroudsburg, you know, if you notice, they're using a lot of roll right, roll left, because really the secondary of Shippensburg has everything covered, and Will Birch is just waiting for somebody to get open.
Yeah. Definitely a good point there. You know, we haven't seen too much in the passing department. It's mostly Myers doing the running on the outsides and up the middle a few times there. But, you know, if he can connect on a few of those passes, I think it's definitely going to open this game up wide open for ESU.
Right now you see number 45, Tim Pollock, rolling, goes onto the line as an extra backer. So don't be surprised to see this as a pass, as you got 3 receivers going out. Pollock trying to come out and open. But instead, this pass is incomplete, it seems like, to number 15, Ryan Harrison. So Larry Harrison picks up a big first down for East Stroudsburg, moving to the 31 into a long field goal range.
You know, that's just what we were talking about. You know, they start collecting on those passes, you start moving the ball, and there you go. You get the first down on the play, move the chains again.
So as you see, Will Birch bringing his team up back with another 3 wide receiver set. This is the same set they've used all day. An I formation. He has a strong side right. A little confusion there in the backfield as Kevin Whipple's trying to figure out exactly where to go. Will Birch looking for somebody, and it's an incomplete pass. That was pretty much a broken up play. It started from the beginning there as Kevin Whipple couldn't quite figure out where exactly to go, and I think that just kind of messed everybody's timing up. So that's something that you can't afford. Get deep down in your opponent's territory, especially in East Stroudsburg situation, down 21-0. So again, we have 6:22 left to go here in the first half of play. So again, Will Birch brings out his team with another 3 wide receiver set. This time he has Bullock lined up to go out for a pass. He has Bullock on the left side. Instead tries to go deep over the middle to number 81. Jason Klusch should have had the ball, instead drops it, and Phil Galliano makes sure of it, bringing up a 4th down. That's again with 6:16 left to go here in the first half. Actually, it's going to be 3rd and 10 at the 31. There's a couple players check off for Shippensburg. Number 75, Chris Holland, and also number 41, Bernard Wheeler, who we've seen a lot of playing time today. As Matt Surface is trying to get the troops ready as Will Birch brings him out in a strong side right in an I formation. Birch looking for an open receiver. He's got a man down, open across the middle. Looked to be Rocco, actually they'll call it number 86, John Katarski. Katarski picks up a huge first down, and now East Stroudsburg, Jay, is starting to seem like they're finding weaknesses in Shippensburg's defense.
There we go again. Said, the team gets overconfident, starts stepping back on their heels. The SU still up on their toes, still does things. And there we go again, now they're down on the 15-yard line.
And East Stroudsburg's really known for the rushing, but as again, here as Andre Myers rolls to the right, the 10, the 5. Let's see, and it's a touchdown for East Stroudsburg. A nice run there by Andre Myers from 14 yards out, picking up the big score. And that's exactly what East Stroudsburg needs. They finally just started to find out what the weaknesses were in the Shippensburg defense, at least on this drive. They score, and they need that before going into halftime.
That's what we're talking about. They find those holes, find the weaknesses, and they exploit them. And there you go. Now it's 21-6, probably going to be 21-7. If they do go for the extra point, which it looks like they does here, but now they're back into the game.
Yeah, they're going for the kick.
So again, here we are ready for the extra point. After the extra point, this will make the score 28-0, or 21-7, I should say. So as my tag team partner, Jason Kaler, will check out for a couple of seconds here with 5:51 left to go here in the first half of play. Again, the score is 21-7 now. This is huge again with East Stroudsburg. The fact that they were shut, they don't want to go in halftime shut out 21-0. By putting 7 points up on the board, this kind of gives them a little momentum going their way, as really the Shippensburg defense looked rather flat. Couldn't quite figure out how to stop the passing attack, because being down by 21 points, pretty much East Stroudsburg went with that 3 wide receiver set. And by doing this 3 wide receiver set, they were able to exploit the pass a little bit more and not really worry about the rush too much. So again, East Stroudsburg lines up the kickoff, and again with 21-7 as your score, with 5:51 left to go here in the first half of play.
We tried.
J.D. Stern ready for the kickoff. The wind's died down a little bit, so it's not quite as windy, and you won't see the wind blowing as much. Again, Mike Erlinson, and looks like Dave Brown is back to receive the kick, and here's the wind blowing the ball off the tee. What you'll usually see is after about 2 or 3 times this happens, you have somebody go up and don't want to get their fingers kicked, but they might have to hold the ball. It seems like the ball's holding up as J.D. Stern's going to have to kick it right away with 5:51 left to go here in the first half of play.
Ready, camera 3, take 3. Ready, camera 2.
Again, Mike Erlinson and Dave Brown with that long reception earlier. This is a short kick. The kick was received there by number 24, Ryan Hartley. That was not exactly what Ryan Hartley was expecting today in returning a kickoff. But again, Hartley had picked up about 1 yard on the play. So this could be at the 31-yard line for Shippensburg. Starting off with 5:42 left to go here in the first half of play as the kick just took a few seconds off the clock. So in at quarterback looks to be Keith Coleman there in at quarterback as Coleman is back in. This time there's Shippensburg. Cleary only picked up about a gain of 2 or 3 on the play. Bringing up second down at 7. So Melvin Scott just checks into the game with Keith Coleman bringing out his troops. But pretty much East Stroudsburg's been using a 5-down lineman set. As you can see, the sun's trying to peek out here at Seth Groves Stadium. Shippensburg here with a strong side left. You got 2 men in the backfield. You have Dave Brown and Anthony Cleary. As Cleary's going to be the leading blocker. And behind a huge block by Cleary, Dave Brown will pick up the first down. That's exactly why they brought in Anthony Cleary. They can use Cleary as we have a flag down on the play. But Cleary has been huge, even at the beginning of the year when he used him primarily on defense. The fact that when he would come in as a fullback, he could make some big blocks for the running backs, and they would pick up the big yardage that Shippensburg needed. So again, we're here. The penalty looked to be either an offsides or a false start. It's just going to be a 10-yard penalty. So it kind of defeats the whole Anthony Cleary blocking a Dave Brown first down pickup. Instead, it was a holding penalty, bringing up second down and 17 for Shippensburg with under 5 minutes left to go here in the first half of play. Again, Shippensburg 21, East Stroudsburg 7. Shippensburg lines up in a strong side left. Cleary in the backfield. Coleman drops, rolls left. He's looking for Kevin Washington, and the pass is nearly picked off. Nearly picked off there by number 42, Jason Zinn. As a key play there by Jason Zinn. He read that play all along. I don't know if we can get another look at that again, but Jason Zinn read that play the whole time with 4:27 left to go here in the first half of play. Again, this is going to bring up 3rd and long here for Shippensburg. Keith Coleman brings the team into the huddle. Really, the team hasn't moved so well in this first half under Coleman. As Coleman rolls to the right, looking for a man, goes back to the left, looks for Erlinson. The pass is going to be overthrown, and it's going to force Shippensburg to punt the ball 4th and long. So far, 2 times that Keith Coleman has had this team under the helm, they haven't been able to move the ball down the field, and that's not exactly what the coaching staff here is looking for. Chris Gicking has moved the ball rather well here for Shippensburg today. And now, granted, a lot of times he only had to hand it off to Dave Brown, but him and J.B. Ware have been a lethal connection, which we'll get halftime statistics to tell you exactly how effective they have been. But again, with the score 21-7, they've been very effective. So again, Bill Shipp's going to punt it away. Another beautiful punt there by Bill Shipp. It's number 34, Eric Brown, looks to return again. This time he's wrestled down. Looked like Anthony Cleary was there in on the tackle, along with number 64, Jeff Hannum. This is again East Stroudsburg the ball at the 32-yard line with 4:07 left to go here in the first half of play. Again, my tag team partner Jason Kaler took a little break, so I'm pretty much all alone for quite a bit here, as we have 4:07 left to go in the first half. Here's a handoff by Will Birch, but he's going nowhere. Tim Pollock's going nowhere, as pretty much on the play, number 55 and number 99, Chopper Schlock, and Jason Heckendorn was there to make the tackle. They'll bring up perhaps maybe a loss of a yard on the play. They might have just made it right to the line of scrimmage, is exactly where they're going to mark the ball, bringing up 2nd and long, 2nd and 10. As the clocks continue to count with under 3:40 left to go here in the first half of play. Shippensburg lines up in their normal 4-3 defense. Again, East Stroudsburg is in that 3 wide receiver set. Birch Looks across the middle, looking for his intended receiver, number 82, Bill Krebs. Krebs couldn't quite make the completion. Again, it's going to bring up 3rd and 10 with under 3:20 left to go here in the first half of play. So again, this is not exactly what East Stroudsburg wants to do. By scoring on their last drive, they had the momentum going their way, and stopping Shippensburg with their defense, they were able to keep the momentum. But right now the offense is not getting the job done, but they're going to have to go back to Andre Myers. And right now Andre Myers is checked into the lineup, but we have a 3 wide receiver set. Myers is in motion. Don't be surprised to see Myers come out of the backfield and go for a pass. Birch goes across the middle, but before he threw the ball, he was smacked by number 55, Heckendorn, and that's really where it all came from. Jason Heckendorn's pressure. So this is going to bring up another 4th down here for East Stroudsburg. So it's going to be interesting to see here how Shippensburg reacts with 3:15 left to go. If they could perhaps put another score on the board to give them a little insurance going into halftime, as there'll be no rush as Hostetter kicks it away. It's going to go inside the Shippensburg 30, and we'll be down by East Stroudsburg at the 25-yard line, giving Shippensburg rather decent field position. That's going to be interesting to see, as Keith Coleman again will be coming out leading the Shippensburg offense. And again, as we've said, you know, it seemed like Chris Kicking was the one that has been able to be successful in leading the team thus far down to score points. Instead, Keith Coleman has now been given the right to the helm and has not been able to be as effective thus far. Right now, Klingerman's going to go in motion. Washington's going to line up behind him in a wingback set with a strong side right. Coleman's going to drop back, hands it off to number 1, Nate Robinson. Robinson rolls right, and he's going to be brought down at around the 28-yard line, about a pickup of 4. The initial contact was made by number 49, J.D. Grangers, as we've been mentioning his name a little bit today. Again, with under 2:45 left to go here in the first half of play at the 20, with Shippensburg at the ball at the 29. It wasn't pickup of 4, second down and 6 on the second down and 6 for Shippensburg, a strong side right. Kevin Washington goes in motion. Coleman drops back. He hands it off to Jeremy Brubaker, and Brubaker's going to bust it up for about a gain of 2. Actually, they're going to give him an extra gain of 3 yards. That's going to bring up second down and 8 for Shippensburg, which is going to be should bring up about a 3rd and 2 on the play. We're about to reach the 2-minute warning here of the first half of play. This is what we just reached. Again, we have a strong side right here for Shippensburg. Got Nate Robinson going in motion. Coleman drops back, looking for Dave Klingerman. Beautiful belly pass to Dave Klingerman, who picks up the first down for Shippensburg up and around the 40-yard line. That's going to actually be marked at the 45. That'll be stopping the clock with 1:41 left to go here in the first half of play, with Shippensburg up 21-0. Again, if you wonder why I seem to be talking a lot, because I am missing my tag team partner, Jason Kaler. Again, Coleman drops back, rolls right, finds Jamie Ware, and he'll pick up another first down for Shippensburg. So right now, Shippensburg is in that 2-minute offense with 1:24 left to go, entering East Stroudsburg territory. And Jay, definitely, you know, as I'm joined back again by Jason Kaler, Jay, one thing definitely is that now with Keith Coleman at the helm, it seems like the team finally is starting to move with him under the helm. They had a one possession where they were pretty much 4 and out, and they had to punt it away. But now the team seems to be moving, and as they're now deep into East Stroudsburg territory, as Coleman can't find anywhere to go, and he's going to be sacked there by number 17, Daniel Creasy. Daniel Creasy finds the open crease. Little play on words there, Jay. But Creasy finds that open crease. It's going to bring up, it looks like a 3rd and 5 for Shippensburg, as we're going to be entering under a minute. Shippensburg has a hurry-up offense on with a strong side left. Coleman drops back. Coleman's looking deep, and that's just going to
Beat. Oh.
The pass just tipped it by, again, a huge play by number 21, Rob Flores, who's made another key play in this game.
That ball looked like it went right through Jamie Ware's hands off the deflections. Maybe he couldn't pull that one out of nowhere and get that for another 6 points.
Hey, Jay, I missed you.
Sorry about that. Mother Nature was calling, just put it that way.
All right. We got 50 seconds left to go here in the first half of play. Bill Shipp's back to punt the ball once again for Shippensburg. And I'll tell you one thing, Bill Shipp today has been very, very effective for the punting game. As this is a fake punt to Jeremy Brubaker. Brubaker is going to run up and cross the 20 with a second effort. Wow. A huge play there by Shippensburg. A wonderful play call by the coaches, especially with under 50 seconds left to go here in the first half of play. I know one thing that definitely fooled us.
Yes, yes. I was going to say it, but I figure if I said it, I'd probably jinx them, so I'm just going to leave my mouth shut now and leave it where.
One thing is that when you do a fake punt, everybody's got to do their job. It's got to be done effectively, and that's exactly what happened there, and it was done effectively.
It has to look like the punt, hike like the punt, and just go. Very nice execution by Shipp. Looks like there was a penalty on the play, though.
There's a hold? Yeah, hold on. Go for it.
Looks like the ball's going to be marked at about the 34-yard line. First and 10 with about 35 seconds left to go.
Apparently there was a holding on the play that would bring up a 10-yard penalty. Might get a chance to look at that later as Gicking comes in now. Pass is completed to Dave Klingerman, picking up a huge first down at around the 15-yard line. But you can really see as Chris Gicking comes in, he's got this team moving. And this is exactly what they did. They know that Coleman hasn't had the team moving as well as Gicking has. They bring him in with 24 seconds left to go. They can hurry it up with the hurry-up offense. One of the receivers drops down, Klingerman falls, and Gicking's going to have to throw it away to stop the clock with under 15 seconds left to go. We're going to have a penalty here. It's going to be interesting to see what it's called. It could be a roughing the passer. It's going to be curious on what the play is called.
It looks like they're going to get.
They're going to call it intentional grounding, which I think is a very bad call because, for example, when you have an intentional grounding, the rule is for the intentional grounding, it's got to be at least pretty much like a 5-yard. It's got to be towards the intended receiver, and the intended receiver was in that area. And I don't know if we get another look or not, but definitely the ball was not an intentional grounding, and I think that was kind of a messed up call there by the official.
I'd have to agree with you. I think some of the fans are voicing their opinions of the call on our right side here. I think I'd have to be in agreement with them on that one.
Yeah, we'll get a little look at a lot of this at halftime with the audience out, and a lot of the fans are here as he's got clear rolling to the left. He's open. The pass is tipped, and they're not going to call an interference. Number 42, Jason Zinn, pretty much tackled the intended receiver, Jamie Ware, but the ball was tipped, and so in that case, I think the officials felt that.
I think if Jamie Ware wasn't wearing his concrete boots on that one, he might have gotten up in the air for that one. I thought there definitely should have been a flag on that play, but I'm not the ref on that one, so.
Well, it's going to be curious to see here with 8 seconds left to go. It's 3rd and 19. Shippensburg's going to apparently go towards the end zone once again, and they got to do it to get the clock stopped. So it's got to be quick as they have a 2 wide receiver set. Don't be surprised to see Anthony Cleary come out of the backfield, or he may stay there as an extra blocker. Look for Jamie Ware to go back towards the end zone. He's looking for Melvin Scott. He's got Melvin Scott wide open in the end zone.
Oh.
Just overthrew him. Melvin Scott had his man beat by 3 yards, but Chris Gicking couldn't quite get it there, but it's going to leave 2 seconds on the clock, just enough time for an attempted field goal.
I think on that play, the wind definitely had that ball. No effect, so it was nice, one of those nice high loft balls. Looks like the wind got underneath it and just carried it just out of his reach. That's a very unfortunate because Shipp, they started the drive with the fake punt. They moved downfield, the nice run. Now, unfortunately, it looks like they're going to try to go for the field goal here. Be about a 40
yard. Yep. Craig Lowe is attempting a 43-yard, and it's no good. The field goal is no good. Bringing us at the end of the first half of play with the score 21 for Shippensburg and East Stroudsburg 7. Okay, we're back live at Seth Grove Stadium with Shippensburg 21, East Stroudsburg 7, but ready to enter the second half of play. again, this is another wonderful homecoming day here at Shippensburg University at Seth Grove Stadium as the Red Raiders are coming right back out of the tunnel after a very successful first half of play, Jay.
Definitely there. 21-7 was the score after the first half. You know, as I said earlier, you know, Ship's coach, Dr. Reese, probably went in the locker room, told them that they did an excellent job. You know, keep doing what they're doing, stay on their toes. You know, don't fall back on their heels and fall back. ESU's coach, like I mentioned earlier, probably went in there, threw some heads around, rattled some heads. You know, like we said earlier, ESU did find. What are we looking? What are you pointing at here, Ron?
We're pointing at the homecoming crowd. Continue, Jay.
I said ESU's coach probably went in there and rattled some heads. You know, ESU did find some, you know, weakness in the links of the Shippensburg's armor, if you want to go as far as calling it that, you know, back to that whole war thing there. But I think if they keep exploiting those weaknesses, keep doing what they're doing, they should be in for an interesting second half here. I think I spitted that all out correctly.
You did fine, Jay. You did fine. After our halftime festivities, which we had our homecoming queen, Saida Bonner, announced. Again, SUTV for the first time, I think, ever. We had somebody nominated, made it to the final five, which is kind of big. Consider most of the times when you have homecoming candidates, most of the times they're from sororities, the marching band, or cheerleaders. So this year, it's good to see more organizations like SUTV, and perhaps next year, because of SUTV, other organizations will start to do this next year. And as we have 14 seconds left to go, as the clock has stopped, apparently it was okay. There we go. They're resetting the clock. We're going to be ready for our opening kickoff here in the second half of play. Shippensburg up again, 21. East Stroudsburg 7. So Justin Leisure is going to be kicking it off here for Shippensburg. Back to receive again is number 21, Rob Flores, who's been huge so far for East Stroudsburg today as he returns it up past 20 to the 30. A big return up to the 40. Up to the 40-yard line is exactly where they're going to mark it out for Rob Flores. A 30-yard return by Rob Flores.
That was an excellent kickoff by Ship. You know, it looked like they were going to have them, you know, push back up against their own end zone, and then ESU turns around, gets it all the way out to the 40-yard line. Looked to be about a 35-yard return on the play. So hopefully ESU, you know, like I said, hopefully their coach rattled their heads around, you know, got them squared away, and hopefully they'll come out and do something here.
What definitely Shippensburg's going to want to do, you know, keep this defense up and keep East Stroudsburg's offense down. But again, East Stroudsburg continues to try this 3 wide receiver set, feeling that they can spread out the defense of Shippensburg. Now this particular play, it works here as the pass is completed for a first down on number 86, John Kotarski. So that's definitely the way East Stroudsburg wants to start it off in the second half of play. Again, bringing the East Stroudsburg's ball. East Stroudsburg now has the ball inside the 50-yard line in the Shippensburg territory at the 49.
Just under 14:30 left to go and start. Looks like we have a handoff up the middle. It was about a gain of about 3 yards. Let's see if I can. Looked like Andrew Myers again on the carry, number 9 for ESU. Looks like he gains about 3 yards on the play. So once again, they looked at Andre Myers to carry the ball for him. You know, in the first half, we mentioned his name quite a few times. You know, he had excellent runs. He scored ESU's only points. And once again, we see him here against 2 wideouts left side, 1 wideout right side. See if Ship's defense can hold him here. QB steps back to pass, rolls around to the right side. He's got a man wide open, but unfortunately can't connect with him just out of his fingertips. It looked like that was intended for number 81, Jason Klush.
Well, again, you see East Stroudsburg, they go to this 3 wide receiver set, and they have the guys open. And a lot of times, really, basically what's taking place is Will Birch is overthrowing some of the receivers, or the receivers are dropping the ball. And for a team like East Stroudsburg, the way they've played today and the way they've played throughout the season, they cannot afford drop balls and mistakes that are going to hurt them and chances of beating a team on the road like Shippensburg. So again, as you can see, we have Andre Myers is going to check in back to an I formation. Blurch is going to drop back. He's looking again for Klush. Klush was wide open across the middle, but again, Will Blurch overthrows and just didn't give him enough time. But the pressure from Jason Heckendorn and Kareem Brown in the backfield.
Yeah, you definitely have to give the Ship D-line credit on that one. They were definitely in there, and I felt sorry for the QB on that one because he had, I'm guessing, probably about close to near 1,000 pounds coming in on him if, pissed off lineman coming at him, so I don't think I'd want to be in his position.
I mean, if he has about, 1 or 2 more seconds on that play, Blurch can complete that pass, and that's exactly what, as Washington comes in with a rush, as it's going to take an East Stroudsburg bounce inside the 10-yard line down to close to the 9-yard line. It's going to be closer to the 10, 9 inches as they call it, with 13:28-29 actually left to go here in the third quarter of play. So it's going to be interesting to see how Shippensburg starts their first drive on offense.
Once again, we got our backs up against our own end zone. We had that a few times on the other side of the field last time. They came out, Cleary had one run, and then I don't remember who had the other one, but, went to the left and right side, so I'm looking to see them do the same thing here.
As we see a handoff there by Chris Gicking to Anthony Cleary, and Cleary will pick up about a 3-yard gain on, actually Jeremy Brubaker, pardon me, pick up a 3-yard gain there on the play. Kind of recapping some of the first half stats, talking about how East Stroudsburg cannot stop the rush. Shippensburg had 27 rushes for 251 yards in just the first half alone. And like we said, they give up an average of 300 rushing yards per game. So far today, they've given up already a total of 383 yards to Shippensburg's offense, as that should have been about another 10 yards of offense as Chris Gicking's pass was dropped by number 9, Kevin Washington. And that's definitely something that Shippensburg can't afford here with 3rd down and 6 in their own territory. You're going to set up a possible punt if they don't pick up the first down here. Also, another thing to point out is Chris Gicking. We were talking about the comparison between Gicking and Coleman. Well, Gicking has 7 completions for out of 13 attempts for 95 yards and 1 touchdown. Of course, that one being a 20-yard long strike as Gicking goes across the middle, finds Dave Klingmer. A wonderful job by Chris Gicking. He was under pressure there by number 44, Kevin Nagel, somebody we mentioned at the beginning of the game. And Gicking did his best way to avoid it, complete the pass, and pick up the huge first down, Jay.
Yeah, you have to give Gicking credit on that one. He felt like the pressure was coming in on him. Stepped up out of the pocket, shook the defender off, made an excellent pass, excellent pass to get downfield and get the first down.
Well, right now, Gicking's in the strong side right, hands it off to Nate Robinson. Robinson has a wonderful hole.
Once again, we mentioned about the blocking.
Pardon me there, Jay, but anyhow, I had to point out that Derek Haberly, number 77, made a beautiful block here on that right side. And it's something that we have to give more credit to, I think, as the offensive line. And we talked a lot about in the first 2 games of the season, but the offensive line has been huge here for Shippensburg. The fact that there are a lot of inexperienced guys on the team that are starting, like Chris Ward, who's a freshman, guys who didn't play too much, and now they're stepping up big here as Gicking has to roll right. He's going to get into East Stroudsburg territory, brought down by number 51, Mike Ryan.
One thing I've noticed about Gicking is he's not afraid to step up out of the pocket, lower the shoulder and take it. A lot of times when you watch TV, you'll see a quarterback run up, take a dive so he won't get hit. Gicking, shoulders squared up the field, just kept on going, ran right into the defender. Hopefully knock him off balance. Almost got away from him, but the defender brought him down.
And I think that's something in comparing quarterbacks like we have this year between Chris Gicking and Keith Coleman, and then you compare him to guys like Mike Carver, who started here for 4 years. Mike Carver, a lot of what he did was run, and he was very effective with the pass. But guys like Gicking and Coleman, they know when to stay in the pocket more. As a handoff here to Jeremy Brubaker. Brubaker's going to run up to around a 30-yard line. That's going to be a huge pickup there of about 15 yards.
I think you have to give credit to Brubaker. He carried about 3 Warrior defenders about 4 yards in the play to get the extra yardage on that one.
Yeah, and talking about this rushing game that Shippensburg had today, really the key so far to this rushing attack has been between Dave Brown and Jeremy Brubaker. Dave Brown has 4 rushes for 122 yards and 1 touchdown. He's averaging 30.5 yards per carry. Of course, the 80-yard touchdown run has a lot to do with it, but we got a fumble here. And it's going to be curious to see if East Stroudsburg recovered or if Shippensburg recovered. There's no rule from the official. This is Apparently, it looks like Shippensburg picked it back up. Looked like Dave Klingerman perhaps recovered. But going back to what I was talking about in the rushing attack of Shippensburg, Dave Brown has been huge. And, of course, Jeremy Brubaker, he himself, 7 rushes for 60 yards. And he's got 1 touchdown, which is that 26-yard touchdown run he had for 8.6 yards per carry, which is really, I mean, that's just unheard of in college football, especially. As Gicking drops back, he hands off to Brown. Brown goes wrong on the right side. He's going to add up another 7 yards to his total today, giving him close to 130 yards rushing so far.
You know, once again, we talked about, you know, the effectiveness of the running backers, but there again, you know, excellent blocking, you know, get them those extra yardage.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we can't underestimate the fact that this offensive line has been key today in Shippensburg's offense. It's great to see the individual. That's what happens. You have the statistics that usually come out, and you see Dave Brown, all these running yards. Well, there's a reason why he got these rushing yards. A lot of it's because of his individual talent, but you have to have guys blocking in front of you, and that's what Shippensburg's been able to do. As they bring out here a strong side right, and Washington run to the motion to the left. There's a play-action fake. Looking for Melvin Scott, a completed pass right to around the 5-yard line. That's going to be a huge pickup of 14 on the play. Bring up a first down, 1st and goal for Shippensburg. So already, Jay, in the second half, Shippensburg seems to have this offense moving again.
You know, there you go. We stated earlier, you know, they had their backs up against their own end zone. You know, they come out with the run, you know, make something happen, give them a little bit more room to play with, and then they move the ball all down the field. And now, you know, it looks like they got about 5 yards to go, and it looks like they're going to score again here.
So Shippensburg lines up here in a strong start right. There's a toss pass over to Jamie Warren on just incomplete. On the coverage again was number 21, Rob Flores, who's really kind of the spark for East Stroudsburg. Actually, they're going to give credit to Eric Brown as breaking up the pass, I pardon. But Eric Brown's even himself has stepped up quite a bit for East Stroudsburg. They just haven't been able to get the whole defense clicking as well. After this play, we're going to go ahead and give you the recap of the Shippensburg scoring drive, which is what actually we're going to do. In the first half of play, Shippensburg got on the board as Jeremy Brubaker put in a 2-yard run to get his first touchdown in the game, giving Shippensburg a 7-0 lead. Also, with 5:22 left in the first quarter, Jamie Ware took a 10-yard pass from Chris Gicking to pick up his first touchdown, making it 14-0. Then, of course, was that huge Dave Brown 80-yard back-breaking run that made the score up at 21-0. Then finally, Andre Myers, really the only spark East Stroudsburg's even had today, with a 13-yard touchdown run with the 5:51 left in the second quarter of play. And really, that's been your offense so far today. So far, you know, Shippensburg's really dominated. East Stroudsburg kind of took the momentum towards the end of the first half. Shippensburg's trying to regain it as Dave Brown is going to be tackled there for a loss, perhaps by number 51, Mike Ryan. Might be a gain of 1, bringing up a 3rd and long situation.
All right, Ryan, we're going to go back to the tradition. Call the play.
All right, here we go. This is our weekly call the play segment. I feel like I'm hosting a show. Let's see, Shippensburg's going to come out here on a strong side right. Don't be surprised to see a throw out of the backfield to Dave Brown. No, they're not going to do that, but they're going to go across the middle, intended for Jamie Ware. The pass is going to be incomplete, bringing up 4th down. Now it's going to be interesting to see what Shippensburg decides to do. Will they go for the field goal?
I'd go for it.
The field goal or for the actual first?
First down. I'd go for the touchdown.
And I think in this case, I think it's exactly what Shippensburg's thinking of doing. They're not running off the sideline too quick as Chris Gicking's going over to head coach Rocky Reese to get the play in from the sideline.
They're bringing in Jamie Ware and Melvin Scott for the play, so it'll be interesting to see who they actually go with.
Well, the thing is, if Shippensburg doesn't get the first down here, the way East Stroudsburg's moved their offense, they're may have to punt the ball, and Shippensburg will have wonderful field position. And especially the way East Stroudsburg's punting game's been today. As Gicking has Melvin Scott, Jamie Ware right across the touchdown.
Oh, nice.
Jamie Ware was wide open. He was just waiting for Chris Gicking to find him, and finally Gicking's like, oh, there he is. Boom, hits Jamie Ware in the back of the end zone for the touchdown. As Jamie Ware gives you your Terrell Davis salute.
Once again, you got to give Jamie Ware credit for making a heads-up play, knowing where the back of the end zone was, keeping his feet inbound to make sure that the catch was inbounds and getting the 6 points on the board.
And that's exactly why he was all PSAC last year. And Shippensburg's been blessed, and they're going to sorely miss him at the end of the season as he graduates. But with guys like Melvin Scott who can step up, you know, when in his absence, when he leaves. But definitely Jamie Ware's been huge here in his 4 years here.
There you just saw the replay.
Yeah, there's the
what I was talking
replay
about,
again.
Him keeping his feet in bounds.
It was just wonderful how Jamie Ware kept his feet in the back of the end zone, and you can't teach that. That's just that's natural ability. So again, give thumbs up to our crack staff in the truck on getting replays pulled up for us here today. Again, with the score 28-7, Shippensburg up by 21 points. It's exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, well, a lot of times we don't mention, but we'd like to thank all the people down in the truck and the camera crew, for giving this opportunity for me and Ron to be able to sit up here and do this. It was 8:03 left to go in the third quarter with a score of 28-7.
So as Shippensburg prepares to kick it off, and the crowd's starting to get a little rowdy. Some of them are exiting as they figure the game might be in hand, and they see that there's some other festivities also going on today here at Shippensburg and during homecoming. Of course, we here at SUTV definitely wish you to have a safe weekend.
Yes. Safe and clean weekend.
No drinking and driving.
Yes.
You
think be responsible for your actions and know what you're doing.
Exactly.
That's what it boils down to.
Because just think, if you're on a football team, you'd be running. So. But right now, we're going to have the kickoff here as Justin Leisure is going to kick it off here for Shippensburg. With 8:03 left to go here in the third quarter of play as Shippensburg struck early. Back to receive is again number 21, Rob Flores. And Flores is going to take it from the goal line, go up to the 15, get up to around the 17-yard line, so a 17-yard return, giving East Stroudsburg rather decent field position.
Once again, Shippensburg kicker is doing an excellent job of getting the field way downfield. That ball looked like it would have been bouncing about the 1 yard line if it wasn't caught there. But you got to give the Shippensburg special teams credit too.
Yeah, I mean, that's definite, because the special teams really on both teams today have been really key. I think, earlier was one big run for East Stroudsburg, which was a 23-yard run earlier by Rob Flores in the first half. But really, that's all that's happened. As in this play here, number 81, Jason Clutch, goes in motion. Blarch is trying to find somebody. Instead, he gets tackled for about a gain of maybe one, or he might got back just to the line of scrimmage. Tried to do the quarterback option, but really there was nothing there. As Anthony Cleary and Tim Kraninski, actually it was Tim Kraninski, was there to meet one of the blocking linemen. Thus, there was no option for Blarch to find. Right now, Shippensburg has five down linemen, and he's going to be sacked. The sack for Shippensburg at number 41, Lenord Wheeler. Definitely, this is exactly what Coach I really wants. He wants to see these young freshmen step up into place at that will linebacker spot where Ryan Hawk got injured, and definitely they're going to miss him. But when you have plays like that by freshmen, Jay, this is key. This is what they need.
That's what we're talking about. The offense has done their job, and the defense has definitely stepped it up at big times. And that was definitely a big heads-up play. Wheeler got in there. I don't even think the quarterback saw him coming and just leveled him. I think they brought the dispatch out to pick him up off the field there.
Well, Blarch rolls right, looking for somebody who's going to.
There once
actually,
again.
yeah, a lot of the players down on the field were looking for a penalty as Cleary nailed Blarch, and a lot of them thought it was a late hit. But instead, it brings up a fourth down, and again, with the way the punting game has been, and nothing really against J.D. Stern, the punter for, or actually I should say Adam Hostetter, the punter for East Stroudsburg, but his punts today have not been effective, and look for Shippensburg to have good field position as Mike Erlinson is back on the 45-yard line, and he's not even going to be able a chance to return this as it just makes it to the 35, but East Stroudsburg got a bounce, taking it up around to the 44-yard line, giving Shippensburg the ball deep into East Stroudsburg territory.
I was just looking at the averages. His average is 39.7 yards. So there again, averaging about 40 yards per kick.
Yeah, and I think that's really a generous amount of the 39.7 because he had one that was 58, and really a lot of that was on the bounce, and that was just kind of an East Stroudsburg bounce. But that's always a key. I mean, if your team can't score, you need somebody who can be able to punt the ball and help your defense out and make sure that the other team doesn't score once again. And that's something East Stroudsburg might have to take a look at, as Cleary takes the ball up for about a 2-yard gain on the play, bring up 2nd down and 8.
Got just under 6:20 left in the third quarter here. As Ron, you said, it's about 2nd down, and it looks like it'll be about 8 yards on the play.
Checking out of the game, number 81, Gordon May, who's actually seen a lot of playing time today. Melvin Scott's checking right back in for the Shippensburg offense, giving the play to Keith Coleman.
There's a combination that we've seen a few times today.
Yeah, just slightly. As we have a strong side left, Erlinson's going to go in motion. Erlinson's going to take the handoff, but he's got nowhere to go. As that was a wonderful job there by the East Stroudsburg defense. His number 17, Daniel Creasy, came in on the play, but also number 51, Mike Ryan, the linebacker, pushed a couple of the Shippensburg linemen into the backfield, and that was why all that commotion took place, and you have to give him a lot of credit in his defensive play. With under 5:20 left to go here in the third quarter of play, Shippensburg up 28-7. We got a strong side left.
I want to say Ship gets 2 or 3 more touchdowns.
Coleman's looking right. He was attendant receiver was Jamie Ware. But number 49, J.D. Granger, has been very huge here for East Stroudsburg. But, I say huge in the fact that we mentioned their name a little bit. But the problem is every one player of the team has to be able to perform their goal and perform their duty. And by them not doing that on every play, this is why Shippensburg's up 28 and East Stroudsburg only has 7. So again, we have 5:07 left to go here in the first half. Is for about the 5th time today, Bill Ship's going to be punting the ball away. He's going to try to angle it towards the corner, but this might go just too deep. As Melvin Scott tried to keep the ball in from going into the end zone, but it didn't. So East Stroudsburg will get the ball at the 20-yard line with 4:58 left to go here in the third quarter of play. And Jay, it's starting to get comfortable up here.
Yeah, finally. Sun's starting to break its way through the clouds. A lot of the cloud cover is dispersed and moved out.
It's an absolutely gorgeous day here
Yes.
in Shippensburg. That's what it turned out to be. So again, East Stroudsburg is going to bring the ball up here at the 20-yard line. There's a 4-3 defensive set with the Sam linebacker, Matt Surface, looking on the outside, a possible blitz, or he may pull back in coverage. Instead, he is coming in, but the play's going the other way to Andre Myers. And he's going to be tackled there by number 75, Chris Heilman.
There's a name that we've mentioned quite a few times today. It was Myers for ESU. He had the only score or only touchdown that ESU's had today. I forget how long the run was he had for that one. It was a 13-yard run in the second quarter that he had that put ESU on the board. But he's made a few big plays, broken a few tackles to get quite a few yards today.
Well, Myers has, 10 rushes for 51 yards, with the 1 touchdown, and he's averaging over 5 yards a carry, which is wonderful. I mean, that's something,
right.
But they haven't, the more they go to him, it's like they're almost forced to pass because they know Shippensburg can stop that run. Yeah. And what they're trying to do, the secret to East Stroudsburg's offense is what they try to do is set a 3 wide receiver set so they can spread out the Red Raider defense, so they can do stuff where they can use Andre Myers and let him run up the middle. But apparently today that's just not working with the 4-man, the 4-down lineman for Shippensburg and the experience that they have. They're just pushing that offensive line back into the running game, and they're causing plays like this to take place where the passing's just not even going to work.
Looked like that pass was even blocked a little bit as it was coming off the line, so a little head over heels.
Of course, the pass was intended for number 81, Jason Clush, and again, we're going to have another punt here for East Stroudsburg. So the game in the last 3 or 4 possessions for both teams just seem to be going back and forth with punting, 3 and out, 4 and outs.
No, Ron, we saw the fake punt once by Ship. You think ESU will try pulling that out just to try to get field position? Looks like they won't.
But, yeah, I think they can't afford it, as Mike Erlinson calls the fair catch, and around the 39-yard line in Shippensburg's own. But again, that was only a 34-yard kick, and that just gives Shippensburg wonderful field position.
You know, once again, as I mentioned earlier on that play, Tony Green had gotten in there, number 21 for Shippensburg. You know, he almost had another block kick. You know, we keep getting in there, you know, but we can't actually contact with that ball. But I'm telling you, I think before the end of today's over, we're going to see a block kick.
Again, we can't fail to mention we have 3:36 left to go here in the third quarter of play. Red Raiders in with a strong side right. Coleman looks, he hands it off to Nate Robinson. Robinson goes around his outside tackle, just enough to pick up a gain of 3 or 4 on a play. But we have to give credit there to number 65, Chris Ward, the freshman, because if it wasn't for his block on that outside there, and he was doing his job, and that's one thing that we have to give credit for this offensive line. They all seem to be doing that job. As long as everybody's clicking and everybody's following their blocking assignments, the offense will move like that. That's how the wing T is based upon. So again, Shippensburg comes up with a strong side left. Both Erlinson and Cleary in the backfield. Hand off this time to Erlinson. Erlinson with a nice spin move, and he's going to get up near the first down. He's going to be 1 yard shy. A beautiful second effort by Erlinson.
Definitely a beautiful second, third effort. You know, kept the legs moving, tried to turn back upfield, and got close to the first down. Definitely a heads-up play by Mike.
Well, Erlinson, you know, he didn't even have 20 yards of rushing in the first half, which that just shows you how deep the Shippensburg rushing attack is. You got guys like Dave Brown, Jeremy Brubaker. Now they use Anthony Cleary even more, and Nate Robinson, who's been stepping up huge. You can bring Kevin Washington in now that he's healthy. I mean, this rushing attack is just deep, Jay.
That's one thing that's nice about having such a deep, you know, pool of guys that you can pull from. Is if one does get injured, you know, which is very unfortunate for a player, you know, but you do have someone else that you can go to. It's not like you have a one-man show where that guy's your big superstar and no one can stop him. You know, you have those hidden threats where you have 2 guys out there. They don't know who you're going to go to, which is definitely a big asset to this team.
And that's the thing, like Shippensburg hasn't even really used Anthony Cleary too much, at least in the first 2 games that we saw. Lately, they have been using him more at the fullback position. And on this play here, they used him to try to pick up the first down, and apparently they're going to call it the first down right away. Since Cleary picks up the first down, we also enter under 2 minutes left to go here in the third quarter of play. As Coleman brings out the offense with a strong side right, he's going to drop back, hand it off. This time to Dave Brown. Brown's going to scramble to pick up maybe 1 or 2, depending on where they mark his knee down on the play.
Klingerman looks like he's a little slow to get up on a pay. It looks like he's got the wind knocked out of him, but it looks like he's got himself together now. Looks like he's probably going to come off the field on that one.
One thing with Cleary is he's a pretty big boy. But one thing, we're almost headed towards injuries there. That's one thing we haven't seen so far in this game. Usually every game that we've covered, you usually see somebody go down, and it's usually nothing too serious. But recently, Chopper Schlock went down also for Shippensburg and a couple weeks back, and that was a key injury. It was good to see him back today. I know the Red Raider defense was definitely happy to see him today as Coleman drops back, finds a creasing Jamie Ware, and Ware's going to take it to the 20, the 10, bring it back, cut it in, touchdown! Shippensburg Red Raiders. A huge play there by the Shippensburg offense as they connect once again with Jamie Ware. I don't know if we'll get another look at it, but that's going to make the score now 34-7.
You got to give Jamie credit for knowing where his block is. We're waving and bobbing down up there. You know, turn a play that looks like he was about to be brought. Here we get another look at it if you watch.
As you can see, Coleman, he finds Jamie Ware creasing across the middle, and Ware just takes off. Nobody's going to stop him. Cuts back in around the 10-yard line, puts it in for the score. Gives Shippensburg another touchdown. It's Jamie Ware's second on the day. That's you just don't teach that stuff.
No, definitely an excellent play by Jamie Ware. You got to give the blockers credit on that one. When the weave and bob, as they say, and got 6 points up on the board.
And not just that, that puts Jamie Ware over with another game of over 100 yards receiving. That's going to put him over almost over 500 to 600 yards on the season so far, and we still have what, 5 games?
Yeah, at least.
So he's on pace definitely for 1,000 yards receiving, and when you get that, you start thinking All-America, and definitely he's going to be a candidate if he continues to perform like he is now.
We have 53 seconds left in the third quarter with a score of Shippensburg 35, East Stroudsburg University 7.
This is just, you know, to come out here 35-7 right now, this is exactly what, you know, I know these College Park fans over there, they're definitely enjoying today's game, enjoying some other activities as well. Of course, we just pray that they keep it safe today, but again, the main thing is that, you know, they're enjoying a good football game. We got a big crowd here on hand. Just a beautiful day here in Shippensburg.
I was worried about a little bit of rain. I thought we were going to get poured on up here, but it turned out to be not a bad day.
Turned to be beautiful. I think the wind chill factor is kind of going into effect a little bit. Now, down on the field, it may not be as bad as it is up on top of the press box, but
yeah, we're up in God's air up here.
That's right. That's right. We're willing to make the sacrifice as Justin Cluse returns the kickoff around to the 30-yard line. Cluse is going to be pushed out of bounds to see where the official marks it. Picked up 15 on the play.
Again, we mentioned earlier about the special teams. You know, Shippensburg's offense just made it. Jamie Ware especially, you know, with an excellent play, ran down the field, got the touchdown. You know, SU's got them, you know, pretty much, you know, in their about what, the 30-yard line. Now is when the defense has got to step up, got to hold them here, you know, put that final nail in the coffin.
Well, right now, again, East Stroudsburg's trying this 3 wide receiver set. They don't want to move from that as Shippensburg comes in with their patented 4-3 defense. Blurch goes to the, of course, the pass was intended for number 86, John Kotarski. But again, it's another incompleted pass there for Blurch.
You know, that's one thing I've been noticing. A lot of the passes that he throws is not like it's out of the reach. It's just too much over their head. I guess you would say out of the reach, but I mean upwise, not left and right. You know, looks like he's putting too much oomph on the ball. He's not, you know, hitting his spot correctly.
Well, that's definite because in the first half alone, he was only 4 of 14, and that's not really a good percentage. You do the math. But I tell you one thing, in this half here, it's really continuing, and East Stroudsburg just cannot move the ball. At this time here, we had a false start, and the defense, of course, is saying the offense is the one at false start, and apparently it could have been on number 73, Joe Terra, the starting offensive lineman for East Stroudsburg, and I think that's what they're going to call it on. Yeah, we're going to have a false start here on East Stroudsburg. It's going to be a 5-yard penalty. Bring up 2nd and 15.
That's one thing that's essentially, I mean, when you're up by, you know, 21 points here, but no, 28 points, so let me do my math correctly. You know, it's not bad if you take a 5-10-yard penalty, but when you're down by, you know, 28 points, this is when you really start, you know, shooting yourself in your own foot. It was, you know, first 10, now it's second 10, now it's 2nd and 15. You keep just pushing yourself back further and further.
Well, here's Blurch, drops back. He goes to his intended receiver, and this is picked off. Let's see if they rule it. Yes, they do rule it.
It's Tony Green, who I mentioned a few times earlier, came close to having a few picked off passes. Now he finally connected with one of them and got the interception for Ship.
But again, you know, Blurch with another overthrow and an interception. So really, apparently you can see that that's one of the weaknesses of East Stroudsburg. They're going to need a quarterback that can lead. And right now we have, you know, Shippensburg has 2 quarterbacks that can lead, and that's what's helping Shippensburg a lot.
Well, don't give them any hints of trying to recruit them. You know? Let's let them stay here. Well, I'm enjoying this.
So again, Shippensburg brings their offense again out, and that was actually the first turnover today.
You saw
the second turnover
replay
today.
on that one. Sorry for interrupting
Yeah.
you, Ron.
Well, it's Kevin Washington's going to take it up the middle. Washington cuts back to the 30, around to the 28-yard line. Going to bring up another. There's going to be our first down here for Shippensburg. So continuing, you know, they're just continuing to run all over East Stroudsburg here today.
You know, I said too, I think I'm going to have to move that possibly more towards the 3 touchdowns before this game's over, because there's still a quarter to go here. Once again, just under 15 seconds left to go in the third quarter with a score of Shippensburg University 35, East Stroudsburg University 7.
We're kind of going back on Will Birch. You know, Will Birch is a senior for East Stroudsburg. So that, and just to kind of point that out and really harp on that a little bit more, as a senior, you got to step up more of a leader. And I think right now that's what East Stroudsburg's lacking. And so don't be surprised to see that, you know, maybe later in this game especially, that they start trying something a little different. But again, this is at the end of the third quarter here, as the officials just let the clock just run out. As again, Shippensburg up 35-7. We're going to try to take a quick 30-second commercial break to pay some of the bills, and we don't get scholarship money for this either. But again, 35-7 is your score. Shippensburg up. And we'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with Shippensburg up on top. The offenses continue to move the ball in deep in the East Stroudsburg territory, as they've done all afternoon. Apparently, they have done that with putting the 35 points up on the board as Shippensburg comes out with a strong side left. Kevin Washington's going to go in motion. There's a fake handoff to Brubaker. Dave Brown's going to take it. Maybe got back to the line of scrimmage to bring up second down and long. But continuing, they've put Chris Gicking back in the lineup. But though in the last touchdown pass to Jamie Ware, that was a completion from Keith Coleman. So really, it's just a great thing to have. I know Coach Reese is definitely loving it when you got two quarterbacks. We talked about it earlier. When you have two quarterbacks that either one could come in and get the job done. As Gicking comes in now with a strong side left. 5 down lineman here for East Stroudsburg. As Brown again. He's kind of being like the Priest Holmes that the Baltimore Ravens had of 2 weeks ago.
Brown
Really,
just exploded on that play, went right through the middle of the field and cut to the left side. It was just very impressive on that.
and the thing is, he's hitting the holes, and
Yes.
a lot of things that really not to dock Mike Erlinson. Actually, Mike Erlinson's usually pretty good at it, but lately Mike Erlinson tries to go sideline to sideline. And what he needs to do is hit the holes, and that's exactly what Dave Brown has been doing today, hitting the holes, much like I said Priest Holmes did in the Baltimore Ravens game, racked up like, almost 200 yards rushing in his pretty much his first game as a starter.
I think they would have stopped Brown on the tape, but like I said, he was just so explosive and just went there so fast. I don't think they realized what was happening.
Well, Gicking drops back. He's facing pressure. Gicking avoids the rush, but he's going to be brought down and sacked by, looks like number 55, Earl Morgan. Actually, they're going to say number 85, Brian Schultz, was the one that brought him down for the sack. But really, that sack wouldn't have happened if a lot of the blocking kind of fell apart there, and that's really what took place. Again, with 13,
Usually that's what happens when there's a sack. The blocking usually falls apart.
Thanks, Jay. You got to help me out here. You got to help me out. The mouth gets dry, you just start rambling. Got strong side right. They got a handoff here to Kevin Washington. Washington, he may have picked up one on the play. So don't be surprised here on his third down to see Shippensburg perhaps go to the air or run it up again the middle to set up a field goal try that won't be too difficult for the special teams of Shippensburg with the score 35-7. A field goal, a touchdown, either way, that'll pretty much put the nail in the coffin, I'm pretty sure.
Not to comment, but it looks like a few of the alumni cheerleaders are down on the field, seeing if they still got what it takes to cut it as a cheerleader.
Well, Chris Gicking drops back. He finds Jeremy Brubaker on her left side, but the pass is thrown too low as Gicking was facing a rush. Gicking was brought down hard there by number 97, Peter Jones. Put a lot of pressure on Gicking, and it was almost close to a late hit, actually. But instead, that's going to set up a possible long field goal try here by number 88, Craig Law.
Now, do you fake the field goal?
Well, they've been known to do fakes today. We know that much. But I wouldn't be surprised to let him try to get the kicking game going a little bit. Try to give them a little bit of practice as Craig puts it up. It's going to be just short. Shippensburg the score continues to be 35-7. As East Stroudsburg brings their offense out here with 12:24 left in the game, our third game of the season that SUTV has done. Definitely an SUTV personal best. Pretty much tying our record from last year of doing 3 games. But we'll be here this year and pretty much every football season for every home game.
You will be.
Well, I will be as well. Mother Naturally possible. Of course, with weather conditions and certain things, we were a little concerned today. But, Mother Nature took care of things for us, and now it's a beautiful, gorgeous day as Andre Myers runs up, picks up a gain of 8 on the play, making it 2nd down and 2.
Myers kind of reminded me of Brown on that play. Hits the middle, full throttle, just blasts through it. All of a sudden, out of nowhere he comes through. I mean, it just reminds me of Brown on that one play so much.
Well, the problem is a lot of the young running backs, a lot of young tailbacks, they watch guys like Barry Sanders in the NFL and they see how he dances around and stuff. It's great if you could do that, but not all of us are Barry Sanders. And so you got to hit the hole like you're supposed to. And when you do that, you're going to get the yards that you need.
I'd settle for a quarter of his salary.
I just settle for enough to pay my tuition. I'd be happy. But again, Stroudsburg picks up another first down here in the half.
So we'd like to mention once again, we'd like to thank the cheerleaders, the band, all the crew for SUTV, and all the homecoming committee for putting on an excellent job this week.
Well, this here, Will Blurch is going deep again. Another overthrown ball. The pass intended for number 15, Larry Harrison. So that's going to bring up another second and long situation with 11:28 left to go.
11:28 to go, second down and 10, ball on the 32-yard line. And we'd like to say, it was homecoming weekend. There's still a lot of people here in College Park. There's still people watching the game, supporting their team. It looks like ESU's going to stay with the three wide outs, see what they do on this one here. Once again, it looks like it was a handoff to Myers. He tries to cut it out to the left side, but it looks like he got only gained about 1 or 2 yards on the play. So they mark it. Looks like it'll be a gain of 3 for Myers once again on the carry.
Yeah, this should bring up a 3rd and 7 here for East Stroudsburg. And if East Stroudsburg doesn't get the first down here, don't be surprised to see them go for it on 4th down, being down 35-7.
Yeah, especially it's not that late. I mean, they're still just under 10 minutes and 50 seconds left. There's still a lot of time. Being down by 28 points, I think you're going to see something.
Well, Will Blurch drops back. He faces pressure. Looked to be a holding call on East Stroudsburg, but they didn't call it. In the backfield, there's a big rush there by number 34, Matt Surfaces. He was deep in the backfield. The pass ends up being incomplete. Actually, the pass is complete. It's going to be a first down. Apologize for that. With 10:38 left to go here in the 4th quarter of play. So, Jay, so far, what are your outtakes of this game?
Been cold, been sunny, been cold. It's like, no, it's been a very interesting game. I think Ships really connected. There you see a pass to number 43 for Kevin Whipley, who was hit him right in the hands. I don't know if you could ask for a better pass, but unfortunately, he couldn't connect. And I think that's been the main problem for ESU today. The quarterback gets his passes there, but they're too high one way or just out of reach. When he does get them there, the receiver, unfortunately can't come up with the catch and bobbles the ball. So I think ESU still has a lot of work to go before you see a win for them.
And just in a couple of minutes, we'll have a lot of the 3rd quarter stats, so far the second half stats as well for both teams. And we'll get to take a look closer into like the completion percentages of Will Blurch, and that's really been the story today. He hasn't been able to complete the ball, and if he gets it there, it's been incomplete because the receiver's been dropping it, and that's not what they can afford to do.
There once again, Myers with a carry. He to me is their key player, I'd say, on ESU. I'm not trying to take away from the other guys, but he's the one who's got the 6 points on the board, making the the runs, really putting all he's got out there, and you can really see he's the one with the positive yardage. And hopefully when we get those 3rd quarter stats, we'll just see what he's actually done.
Well, again, Will Blurch drops back, looking to complete it across the middle on this 4th down. This will bring up actually a 4th down now.
Pass was intended for number 15, Larry Harrison, and there once again, instead of being high or long, that ball was short, and Harrison had to come back for it and try to dive for it.
Yeah, so just another incomplete pass, and I'm really surprised to see how East Stroudsburg. You would think, okay, things aren't working with Will Blurch as your senior quarterback. Try to go a little younger. Try to go down to your 2nd string quarterback, because you might as well try something a little new, especially down 35-7.
I don't want to say it's this late in the season, but it's pretty a safe bet to say that they're going to lose this game unless a miracle happens. But it would be good to get a younger quarterback some time in there to give them some practice on what it's like, because it's not like they have anything that they can really gain from this season.
Well, that was a nice return there by number 10, Jamie Ware, as he got some key blocks, especially one from number 28, Bragg Semeninger.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I got you.
Okay. Kind of long-winded to get there, but I got there.
Well, we're in the final 10 minutes of play here in our third game of this season. Shippensburg up 35-7, and I think Shippensburg, the Red Raiders are going to continue to want us to do play-by-play to their games. The reason why we say that, because after the day, if everything goes well, they're going to be 3-0. So now we got a new tailback in, number 24, Ryan Hartley, who doesn't get too much play, but in this case here, picks up a big first down, picks up a gain of about 16. I know a lot of the coaches on the sideline are enjoying that one, to see Hartley in there and just get a chance to mix things in a little bit with a lot of the younger talent.
You know, there you go again. You just keep adding to that pool of depth that this team has. You know, the younger guys, you wouldn't expect something like that from them. They come out here and they do it. And
they got some other guys on there that can step up too. I know Adam Crowell's another one that can step up and be a great running back right now. He's pretty much a redshirt freshman. As Hartley's going to get another handoff. Hartley finds another hole. He's going to pick up another gain of 5 on a play. This always happens in a game like this where, you know, score gets out of hand a little bit. You bring in a lot of the backups, and the team just rolls around them. That's what they want. They want to see the guys like Ryan Hartley, you know, starting to light up the other team, because really the other team still has their starting defense in there.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. It's nice to be able to be up by this much points and be able to put the younger guys in there and get them to practice. That way, you know, if your big superstars, your first stringers do get hurt, you know that you have the confidence and you've seen the guy actually play in a game and you can see what talent and what he can do.
And especially when you have somebody in the backfield that's continuing to run, as this time Erlinson trying to show how things are done a little bit. We got a penalty down. It could have possibly been a holding there on the left side on Shippensburg. But again, you know, it's kind of key that you can get a lot of these guys rushing the ball, continue to move the field and run down the clock, and that's what exactly Shippensburg wants to do, especially with 8:18 left to go. Just want to run down the clock, get the game pretty much in the bag, and get ready for Clarion next week.
Well, I haven't heard much on Clarion. How do they stand, you know, ranking-wise, and what are you expecting from them next week?
Well, me, myself, I haven't really heard too much about Clarion. We'll get a lot of information throughout the next week. The fact is that Clarion's a young team still. Last year when we went to play Clarion, they were young. They graduated all the people that took them all the way to the Division II semifinal game. So they're actually going to be very, very, very strong this year. I haven't heard too much on who they've beaten and who they've played, but I imagine that next week's going to be a challenge, especially going to Clarion to play them. As this pass here was completed by Chris Ginking to number 19, Brian Crilly, who's getting a little bit of playing time. So it's good to see some of the skill positions getting a chance to get their name in the paper. With under 7:50 left to go here in the second half of this game, as Crilly brings in the play, along with number 81, Gordon May, who's seen a little bit of playing time today. Shippensburg comes out here in a strong side right. You got one receiver set to each side. Gicking drops back. Pass intended for number 1, Nate Robinson, and pass is going to be incomplete. That should bring up a 4th down. So the Red Raiders will have to punt the ball once again. With 7:24 left to go here in the game. Shippensburg up 35-7. Now that I kind of remember the score I predicted, I said 47-14. So we're on the right track, but
pretty close.
But the way East Stroudsburg's moved their ball today, I don't see them scoring another point, and the Shippensburg defense has been stepping up. A squabbly kick here by Bill Shipp, but it's going to take a Shippensburg bounce, and the thing was, though, is number 21, Rob Flores, was a little too close to the ball, and if that would have touched him, Jay, that would have been a live ball.
Yeah, I definitely was seeing 6 points on that one if that one took a wicked bounce. But as it is, the ball will be on the 21-yard line. As we take a look here at College Park, you know, the crowd is just still gets bigger and bigger. You know, fans are still out here supporting their team, you know, pulling them through this win. Once again, the score at Shippensburg 35, East Stroudsburg 7.
And definitely, Jay, I think everybody here has enjoyed this game. They get to go over there, they get to have a good time at College Park, and enjoy your, home college team winning 35-7 at the moment. And I know a lot of the fans are starting to deplete and go over to areas like College Park and different areas today. It's a beautiful day. You might also enjoy the weather. But again, we're going under 6:50 here left to play in the game. 35-7 once again. Let's see what East Stroudsburg, they're going to try something a little different. But continually, Will Blurch is in, and I still think that this would probably be a great opportunity for East Stroudsburg to try to seek some new leadership in a second-ranked quarterback, to see how he might be able to handle the team.
There they connected for what looked like about a 15-yard pass. It was number 82, Bill Krebs. You know, they're finally starting to connect, but unfortunately it's probably going to be too late in the game.
A lot of the backup defensive players are in for Ship to get a little bit of playing time.
And we're going to get a replay on that one here.
But Joe Wozliak just checked out for Shippensburg. He's getting a little bit of playing time, and he's somebody that Coach I really has discussed about. That is, you know, who's going to step up big here in the next couple weeks, especially with Ryan Howe out for the Will linebacker position. Here's another handoff. Getting on to Andre Myers, and Myers is going to break up and pick up the first down and pretty much run to the bleachers and pick up a soda at the same time. But that's exactly what East Stroudsburg wants to happen. But like you said, Jay, it's going to be a little bit too late, I think, especially down 35-7.
Yeah.
But yet, for the Red Raiders, you know, and defensively, you want to keep them below 10 points. I mean, that's kind of a key. It's always one of your key goals before the game. You want to either shut them out or keep them as low as possible.
Earlier we said, you know, last night they were calling a shutout, and unfortunately got the score on the board. But like you said, you keep them under 10 points. You keep them in single digits. You hold them to that one touchdown. I think it's close to, but it's not the shutout. But I think it'll still give them a warm, fuzzy feeling that they did such an excellent job.
Well, exactly. As Will Blurch sees something again that he does not like here, and it's his first time out here in the second half for East Stroudsburg. As the offense is going to try to huddle and the defense is going to come over to the sideline, discuss things a little bit.
You know, as I said earlier, 1936 was the biggest Shippensburg win that we have. It was 38-0. So if we can get another few points on the board, it looks like we'll break that record today.
And definitely, as you see, College Park, the happening place today, Jay. Watching this 35-7 football game. Of course, they're all drinking apple juice, which is I'm very proud of them. Again, 6:02 left to go here in the second half of play.
You know, once again, we said if you are going to go out tonight, just be responsible, be safe. And if you are over 21, you are drinking, just be safe and don't drink and drive. And if your friends are going out, make sure they're safe and make sure you take your keys away from them.
And that's definitely something to be aware of as the pass is completed there.
Jason Clush once again with a big reception. You know, it's unfortunately that they couldn't make these connections earlier in the game. Possibly made the game a little bit closer that we could have had, but unfortunately, like we said, Ship's defense has just been all over the place, stopping them, you know, making the quarterback rush, getting those passes too high or out of the reach, making the wide receivers really have to work, but unfortunately they can't connect. Now I have another run by Myers. Once again, gets the ball to about, looks like it'll be about the 7-yard line on the carry.
And Jay, this is something definitely, I mean, granted we have under 6 minutes left to go in a game. The game's pretty much wrapped up, but like we were talking about, I know Coach I really wants to make sure his young players, they're going to have to step up, especially in the linebacker positions with Ryan Howe out. And he does not want to see plays like this happening where the defense is blowing stunts and guys like Andre Myers are just taking them apart right now and about to score another point as Blurch looks across the end zone, and he's going to be completed to number 81.
Jason Clutch.
Jason Clutch for the touchdown, making it 35-13. So again, you know, that's exactly not what, you know, granted Shippensburg feels that they have the game wrapped up, but hey, anything can happen in 5 minutes and 16 seconds. We've seen it happen before.
You know, one thing we mentioned earlier is, you know, a lot of the second string guys are in there, not to take away from them, but a lot of them probably haven't played in an actual game situation. You know, and you get a guy like Myers, you know, if he's rushing like this, you know, possible, you know, I don't want to say All-Americans, I don't know what his other games have been like, but, you know, a definite superstar, knows how to run. You know, this is definitely good experience for the younger guys, and if he does get the touchdown, you know, he gets the touchdown, but I think the experience gained is more of what's the key element in here.
Once again, if you see the The score right as of now is 35-13, and I think the big key here. And you were talking about, guys coming in and not getting too much playing time, and you're a little cold and stiff. And I know that's how it was even with me as I played here for like one spring. And, the same type of thing. You stand on the sideline for an hour and a half. When it comes time to come into the game, you're a little tired. Your legs don't move as much as you would like to. And you make mistakes that you really don't, your mind thinks of one thing, but your body doesn't. And that's like the big key when you're standing on the sideline and not necessarily freezing, but your body's just not moving.
You're not warmed up.
Exactly. Thank you, Jay.
No problem.
The mouth starts getting dry after a while, you know what I mean?
Hey, you just start rambling. It all makes sense in the head.
Again, we have 5:16 left to go here in the fourth quarter of this game. Preparing for the kickoff, another rather poor kickoff, but it takes you back to the 6-yard line as Mike Erlinson gets tripped up wonderfully there by, looks like number 56.
Erlinson on the return. Tripped up.
J.C. Dodge. Actually, they're going to give it to number 54, Chad Wheeler.
Chad Weaver.
Chad Weaver, thank you.
No problem.
You look up the stats, when you have special team guys and they make tackles, it's like, all right, who are they? But that's who it was. Chad Weaver made a nice tackle. Give him his recognition for the day. And the coaches especially like to see that. Your team's down, you're not doing too well, things didn't go well. It's good to see everybody continue to put forth their effort. And, hey, you never know, you might get a little bit of playing time this week. So Shippensburg lines up here in the strong side left with a 2 halfback set. Hartley in the backfield. They go back to Ryan Hartley. Ryan Hartley's going to roll to the right, pick up about a gain of 2 on the play.
One thing. Go ahead, Ron. Sorry.
I was just going to say, bringing up 2nd down and 8.
One thing about Hartley, it's nice to see when he does get grabbed or pulled down, he does try to keep that 2nd and 3rd effort going, which, is key for a younger player to develop now, gets that playing time in there, starts developing his skills. So, when he is a starter, he knows what it's like. And, hey, I remember this. I did this before. Now I just got to go out and do it.
Well, one thing with Ryan Hartley is he's been suffering a lot of injuries and a lot of things with his, pretty sure it was with his knees. So it's good to see him back and running again, and I think that's why the team's really kind of rallied around him right now. Just praying that he's going to get some decent yards in this game as Nate Robinson takes up for a 1st down, and that'll run some more of the clock down. Bring us around the 4:16 mark as Robinson will pick up the 1st down, taking Shippensburg up to around the 29, 30-yard line.
28-yard line.
As it moves the chains. As the whistle continues to blow, and we're almost under the 4-minute mark here left to go in the 4th quarter of play with the Red Raiders up 35-13. Keith Coleman brings the team out of the huddle in a strong side left. He's going to hand it off there to number now we're starting to bring up all the backups.
Number 27, P.J. Manny.
So apparently they have P.J. Manny, who was originally checked in as a wide receiver. They seem to be moving him to more of the running back position. So again, it brings up 2nd down and 13. With under 3.5 minutes left to go as the time just continues to tick away. And Jay, as we're continuing to end towards the end of this game, what are some of your thoughts on this homecoming game compared? I don't know if you saw last year's or not. But compared to last year's, what about this year's?
I don't remember too much of last year's game. Last year you could just sit in the crowd and not have to worry about paying attention. Everyone else cheered, you cheered, type of deal. But like I said, we got to give credit to, the SU Homecoming Committee doing a wonderful job this week, putting on a wonderful week of activities. We also have to give credit to the football team. They know they had a job to do. They know they were playing, I don't want to say an inferior team, but I want to say a not as talented team. That's one thing we mentioned, the depth that Shippensburg has. I think Shippensburg clicked, like I said earlier, definitely a well-oiled machine. They knew the job that they had to do. They had to come on fast and strong. They did that. As a result, you look at the scoreboard, it scored 35-13.
And I think a key, too, today was the defense because there might have been a false start perhaps on Shippensburg, or maybe too many men on the field. But again, I think the key part of Shippensburg's success today is Shippensburg, and that's exactly what happened on that last play. It was too many men on the field. But But the key part of Shippensburg's success is the fact that, you know, their defense has been good. And you got to remember, East Stroudsburg scored 35 points on Westchester last week. And, of course, Shippensburg was really held in check by Westchester. And that shows you how much the defense has stepped up, you know, really, to this game compared to 2 weeks ago.
Like you just said, you know, the defense did play a big part. You know, when they were in that situation where the defense had to really step up, you know, they did have quite a few sacks, a few rushes, you know, and a lot of rushes on the quarterback, I should say. You know, as a result, you know, you look at the stats for how the quarterback did. There was a pass that was intended for, it looked like Jamie Witt. No.
It was Brian Crilly, and Brian Crilly made a wonderful grab on the sideline, but they had caught him out of bounds. It was really a pretty catch by Brian Crilly, and then when you make catches like that, it'll help you get a little bit of playing time maybe in the next couple of weeks, as we've even seen Gordon May a little bit more today, because perhaps in practice he must have stepped up and coach said, all right, we're going to give you a little bit more playing time, and that's good to see, especially when you're going to have guys like Jamie Ware perhaps graduating next year. You're going to want to start getting more and more in there to fill that void that he's going to leave. It says Bill Shipp punts it away. Number 21.
Nice spiral on the ball. Number 21, Matt Kincada. No, I'm sorry. Rob Flores.
Sure. Yeah, Rob Flores turns up to the 41-yard line with 1:44 left to go here in the second half of play. Shippensburg up 35-13. Pretty much everything went as well as expected today. Jason Kaler. Again, before we get to the end of the game, we want to thank everybody in the production crew. Thank them for standing out in the cold when it was cold, as now it's gotten a little warmer and they're probably getting hot and sweaty. But we do want to appreciate everything they've done in the truck, producing this show, just enabling us to sit up here and BS and, you know, have a good time.
Actually enjoy the game and get to voice our opinion on it.
So we got a fumble here as Will Blurch fumbles the football on a snap. It's going to bring up about a loss of 6 on the play.
Looks like we have just under 1:25 left to go in the quarter.
So we have 2nd and 16 with under 1:20 left to go here in the game as the clock continues to run down. Again, East Stroudsburg still continuing with a three wide receiver set. They figured the game's pretty much over, but let's just go to Andre Myers and give him some more yardage. He's going to get deep into Shippensburg territory at the 48-yard line, picking up a huge first down.
I think I heard the score correctly. It sounded like they announced Clarion 16, Edinburgh 7 was the score of that game. It sounds like it was currently going on. I think that was the score that the announcer just announced.
And that's key to know going into Clarion next week. So again, coming up with a 3 wide receiver set. More of a strong side left for East Stroudsburg. Hand it off again to Myers. Myers is going to be stacked at the line.
You know, one thing that we mentioned is, you know, we do have the second stringers in there. You know, they are running, but when Myers was in there against the first stringers, he was getting just as much yardage and playing time too.
Well, that's exactly. I mean, we were also just talking about the defensive line as well, and Chad Oberhotzer just made a beautiful play at the line of scrimmage, and that just shows you how even deeper this defensive line has been, and we've seen it all day long. So we're in this will be the final play of this 1998 homecoming. Again, we want to thank everyone who helped out and made everything possible for today, as Andre Myers is going to run it in, pick up a first down. But that's going to be the end of the game here as Shippensburg pulls off their 4th victory of the season, Jay. The record now stands at 4-2. They'll be going into next week's game at Clarion, 4-2, moving themselves up along in the PSAC West. And Jay, what were kind of your outtakes on this game and what we've seen compared to what we've heard about in the last 3 weeks?
You know, like we mentioned, the defensive line, the defense as a whole, you know, really stepped up their game. You know, they did that in the first games that we saw. You know, they were really a big key part. You know, on the other side of the ball, you have the offense. You know, once again, I don't really want to call it a controversy, but you got the 2 quarterbacks who both bring in, you know, their diverse aspects, you know, and then the wide receivers and the running backs and the blocking, you know, once again, it all clicked together. And if they keep this up, you know, I see no doubt that they'll win the PSAC.
Yeah, and definitely, like what we're talking about, you know, the defense clicked today. Even a lot of the guys who, you know, oh, we're on say, hey, Jay.
No, not anymore.
Yeah, lot of the key things with the defense today, with guys like Ryan Houck going down and a young linebacker stepping up like Josh Goodman. These are the key things that Shippensburg's been needing to make sure that happen. Also on offense, it's been key the fact that everything just seemed to be clicking today. Today just went under Chris Gicking. When Chris Gicking was at the helm, seemed like everything worked. The first 2 drives he ran, it was 14-0 before he knew it. Keith Coleman came in. He had a couple struggles with the offense, but apparently after a while he was able to hand it off to Dave. Well, actually connected with Jamie Ware on a crossing pattern earlier in the second half to pick up an early touchdown score in the second half. Eventually to give Shippensburg the 35-13 victory. It was good to, it's kind of really good to know that you have 2 quarterbacks to go at. And we're going to also pick up a big victory. And this is going to be pretty much it for us in this homecoming year, 1998. So again, for Jason Kaler, I'm Ron Schott. Again, your score, Shippensburg 35, East Stroudsburg 13. And we'll see you in 2 weeks when Shippensburg comes back here to Seth Grove Stadium to be taking on another PSAC conference game.
This is how you ramble on when you.
This is how you ramble on when you can't find the schedule. Okay, but anyhow, I'll be taking on our next PSAC game here at Seth Grove Stadium as they have another 4 games left to go throughout the season. But we just want to continue to harp on the fact that Shippensburg looked very impressive today. And again, here's the team. It's a big game. Slippery Rock, October 24th, followed by Lock Haven. But Slippery Rock's the game you want to go to. They're top 25 in the nation. And you're going to want to see Shippensburg versus Slippery Rock and see if it's much like last year. We will be there for that. So again, for Jason Kaler, I'm Ron Schott. And we'll see you once again on October 24th.
All out. Pick somewhere.